Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Six Oscillators. Please let me know if anybody can hear me. Are we good? Are we out? Any issues? Are we start drinking already? Hello. Okay, over here. Thank you very much. Welcome back, people. Thanks to you all for coming back. This new episode is 1 month later. Thank you very much for all the waiting and anticipation. Uh, we have this time, as I promised last time to Mr. Wagu here in the chat. Thank you very much. This time we're gonna have answers to the big question we started in the previous episode. I want to play Synth-tar. I'm throwing that out there to see if it catches. Synth-tar. What now? As in, what are the options? Where the technology is, and what should I consider if I want to test these waters or just go into it willy nilly to have fun and expand our capabilities in doing music with things we haven't tried before, for instance, or things we're very familiar with, as if you already play guitar, or if you want to improve your guitar execution or your guitar experience even through keyboards or guitars, because that's who we are. We're Six Oscillators. We're totally inclusive. If you play guitar, bass guitar, keyboards, or even guitar, you're welcome. You're home. You're finally somewhere where you belong, because we all belong here. I'm a little unhappy about this situation in the online community of needing to be either or. You either play guitar or you play synthesizers or keyboards. Why 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 can't they cohabitate? Why can't they be joined together in one? Since the technology is there, is mostly there, and whatever hurdle is hasn't been ironed is gonna get there. And thankfully, we're gonna be here to see it and to experience it and to enjoy it. So, first of all, a little housekeeping. Uh, in order to allow you to communicate with us, because we encourage you and we ask you, we beg you to give us some feedback. What would you like to us to talk about? What would you like to see? What technology or what technique or what question is bugging your brain and needs to be answered? So in order to do that, we're going to do our best to establish a communication through Discord, for instance. Obviously, you can let your messages here on YouTube, or those who know us hosts, meaning Mr. Synthetic, Mr. Elantric, or me, Froze. Uh, you can hit us on the social media. Feel free. I'm pretty lonely, so I appreciate any interaction. But in order for you also to interact between amongst yourselves and feel feel the love of the other guys with the same interest of you, as in guitars, synths, and everything in between. For that purpose, I'm gonna be sharing, or we're gonna be sharing here in the show, the link to the Six Oscillator Discord server. It's a work in progress, so just be patient. There's not many channels, but the one is there. It already has some stuff that we've been working in the background before the show, even before the show aired, the first episode, and already some very juicy information about the technology, the history, what it takes for you to come from the guitar way towards the synthesizers. Um, but and second, and before I go straight to introduce my co-host, my wonderful, wonderful, and so helpful co-hosts, and honestly, way more knowledgeable than I would ever be about both subjects, guitars and synthesizers. Today, we're gonna talk about gear. Yay! We're gonna talk about brands. We're gonna talk about models, and we're gonna talk about not very deep, not so much about history, but things that you could draw in a timeline to explain the technologies, what came and why did it went that way or the other way. And we also have prepared a little guideline that I think it would be interesting to share, even for you to go through in case you are totally clueless, you're totally new to either world, guitar or synths or synth-tar, uh, so you can follow and find your way towards what is actually you go. But as I said, we're going to mention brands. Six oscillators, full disclosure, were not associated with any commercial brand. No the guitar brands, no the synthesizer brands, no music tech brands. The problem is, since this world is so petite, uh, you find out that you end up basically talking about the same manufacturers, about the same brands. The people driving the bus of Synth-tar is a reduced group inside a reduced group of a reduced market. So a little endogamic, if you wish, but there's brands that are gonna keep coming back over and over again because sadly, at this point in history, 2024, uh, that's who they rule and that's who is boosting. So as I said, no affiliation. We're getting no kickback from any brand, any manufacturer. Boohoo, uh, and nobody has paid us to showcase a product that there where we're free to speak our minds. So if we see something wrong with the product, I don't know my co-host. I'm gonna ask them in a minute. I will say it. That's how I am. Foot in mouth, speak my mind, uh, take no prisoners, no remorse type of guy. Okay. So let me, with no further delay, just introduce my wonderful co-hosts, starting in seniority order with Mr. Elantric, uh, creator of the endless speed of or endless source of knowledge about synth-tar and virtual guitar, which is another side of it that we're going to talk about in this show, not only this episode but many episodes in the future. Mr. Elantric, how are you,
Hello,
Mister?
everybody.
How's it going?
Great.
How has the month been for you? Has it been kind to you?
Extremely busy. My bands have been playing lots of live gigs here on the Central California coast. I just played in a place called the Fremont Theater in San Luis Obispo for the Slow Film
Mm.
Festival. And my I play in a couple different bands and wear a couple different hats, but one is being one of the
Mm.
preeminent surf guitar players here in California, which we
Mm-hmm.
classify it as our local folk music,
Okay.
and say, okay, here it is. It's 65 years old, and let's play some 65-year-old music, um, and pass it
And
on to
some
the
more.
new generation. And a lot of
Yeah,
young kids
they
have
need to
never
learn.
heard Dick Dale. A lot of people have never heard
They,
Dick Dale. So
poor little souls. I really pity them. So, for instance, is there any band you would like to talk us about, or to plug, or any gig you would like to announce here in the show for the listeners?
on Facebook, my band's called Riff Tide. But I
Okay.
had a couple different bands. I was in a Ventures tribute band called the Dentures.
Okay. Okay.
So,
And any doctor
and
in the band?
well, I don't know.
Any
Yeah, I'd say
hygienist?
Riptide would be the main thing. So if you go on YouTube or Facebook and
Hmm.
search Riptide
Okay.
California, and you'll get plenty of videos and plenty of links. I'm playing a
We'll
gig tomorrow.
Okay, where is that one? Okay, are you at freedom to disclose?
Yeah, it's in San Luis Obispo near the airport, called Liquid Gravity. You know, here in
Cool.
California, we have a lot of micro breweries, so everyone's brewing
Ooh.
their own local craft beer, and then
Hey,
hiring
man.
live music to make the beer go smoothly, and dance and drink more beer after you get hot on the dance floor. So it's mostly dance oriented. So it's tough
Cool.
to express my ambient guitar chops in public and get paid for it when they'd rather hear surf music and play that funky music, White Boy.
I feel your pain. I truly do. Good. We'll try to in a minute. Thanks to our beloved IT professional, we'll try to share the link for your band and your gig, so more people can come and see.
Sure.
And with no further delay, let me introduce our beloved co-host, the third wheel in this tricycle, Mr. Synthetic. How are you doing, mate?
Hey, everybody. Who let this guy in? I mean, me.
I did, and I'll do it again.
All right.
You
Good to see
deserve to
everybody.
be here, because
Yeah.
we all know, many people don't know, and that is kind of a pity. You are a guitar player at heart, although you got your
I just never
teeth
practice.
into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I know you have the tools. One of these days,
One of these decades, I'll figure it out. Yeah.
So how's your month been? How you been doing? What's new?
Yes, not much. Been all right. Just same old stuff mostly.
Oh,
Is there feedback? Do you hear a feedback thing? No,
I don't.
Good. Just want to make sure.
But
all right. I was messing with some stuff earlier.
Ask the people in the chat. They are the ones.
No, if you guys don't hear it, it's okay. It's fine.
Cool.
No, just usual stuff. Still trying to find the ideal job. Still unemployed.
Oh, sorry about that.
But well, that's fine. I don't want to get a shit job, so I'm living off my savings, trying to figure out what I want to get. Because there's a lot of layoffs in this area, Silicon Valley. I don't know if you guys follow the news that much, but Silicon Valley, between Tesla and Cisco and everyone on the planet is doing mass layoffs around here. So job market is pretty slim for anything really decent. And rather than settling for a job that's below the skill set and money that I'm used to, I've been just kind of looking for the perfect position. So in the meantime, I've had some fun to do more live streams, and next month I'm going to the famous Monroeville Mall in Pittsburgh where Dawn of the Dead was shot, going to a zombie weekend and with a bunch of celebrities there and stuff. So it'll be kind of fun.
Awesome.
I'll do some live streams from there. It'll be lots of fun. Play some goblin music while I'm walking around, that kind of stuff.
Yes, you do. Guys, I really envy you. You really are where everything is happening. You're there. And I'm really glad that you are there.
Yeah, it's good times.
So, Synthetic, please, if you could and will, could you share the?
I would, but look at the note in the private chat. I lost the mod rights, so if you can add me as a mod while someone else is talking, then I can do that. You see my name in the chat? I don't have a wrench anymore, so.
How did that happen? Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
And even worse than that.
It's an easy fix, but I know you have to look into it, and you can't do it while you're talking. So if one of us gets on a topic, you can do it in the background.
We can add the links upon.
I can also add it later. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, as always, we can always add links to the notes if you guys come back and look at the show notes.
Yeah, we definitely will put them to the notes. Let's get this started. Let's get this going. First, a little bit of show and tell, a little bit of recap. And let me be the stupid guy with a pretense of star. Wrong button. This one. So, although what I'm seeing in the audience is a lot of well-known faces, and most of you, I can see that you come from the synth side of things. All right. So half of this of what I'm gonna talk about now is gonna basically be too basic, all right? But because I expect people watching this afterwards, and for everybody who is not a synth head in the audience, we're also gonna go through the basics of synthesizers. Because to understand how you can marry both subjects, first you need to understand what do you need to marry, which are the two sides of the ceremony. And since so, how am I gonna do this? Okay, let's start with the synths, with the basics. So last episode, I was trying to pull Wikipedia definition saying that a synthesizer is an electronic device or apparatus, an electronic gadget that through electricity and circuitry would generate sound, and that sound could be manipulated. But that's very theoretical, that's very abstract. For all the guitar people that come to see this show and said, okay, I want to, what I already know, a guitar, I want to make it sound like a synthesizer. But do you know what a synthesizer is? And how does a synthesizer sound? And how do you get there? Right? So that's what I'm going to try to tackle today. Because let's start with just the most basics. This is a synthesizer. It also has a sequencer, a machine that will play music for you, as in automatically on a cycle. But nevertheless, this is also a synthesizer, a specific one that is specialized on doing drum patterns and drum rhythms and drum sounds. It doesn't do much more than drums, although you can pitch some of them, and some drum machines can play pitch percussion, but it's also a synthesizer. I don't know if you heard that, but that's the next one. But look, this tiny little pockety thing is also a synthesizer. And although it's not the best sounding one, it is quite powerful. It can do a ton of stuff, right? So it's starting to get confusing, right? But wait, this is a synthesizer as well. Looks like a keyboard, but it doesn't sound like a keyboard, right? Or this type. Some of you say, hey, I recognize that one. That's a synthesizer. Yeah, but so is the other ones, including this one. Confused already? Let's make it worse. Because one of my co-hosts, Mr. Synth-Addict, could be able to show you all the types of synthesizers. For instance, those ones that don't look like a musical instrument, as in, we're in 2024, space age, computer age. Do you even have a synthesizer on your pocket in a daily basis? So,
hello.
Is it ready?
Yes.
Hello. So, show the people in the audience and the people in the future, what do you mean by a synthesizer in your pocket? Little louder?
Louder?
Can we have a little louder? Try again? Try again? He's trying to play upside down. That's why. But it should make a sound.
It's not working.
No.
It triggers and
there.
that one.
There. I know it's. I put the noise gate on. That's why. Hold on.
Okay. And it's gone.
Let me turn the noise gate off. Hold on. It's StreamYard.
Thank you. Yes.
Damn this StreamYard. All right, here we go.
Heck, can live without.
Much better.
Awesome. Do you got anything else?
Well, I don't want to jump the gun. It's one of the topics we're going to discuss, but this one does lots of fun things, not just touch control.
Nobody does, but other type. Did you have anything iPad?
I have some more on the iPhone here. Give me a second here.
Okay.
Let me just grab
and before some of you start pulling out your hair, as in, okay, but which one is the synthesizer? Because I want to play the synthesizer. Well, because of evolution of tech and because we could say, not so productive pursuit of musicians to replicate actual acoustic instruments through electronics, all of them are synthesizers because they can synthesize a sound out of circuits and electricity. Okay, go for it. Oh God, look at that. It moved. It changed the screen. Okay.
Got some effects on that one, but it's Animote Z. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Mr. Elantric, do you have anything for us to show at any other type of synthesizer?
Well, that's an Android. It's not focusing too well. Oh well.
The blurring effect is trying to blur the screen.
Yeah, that's just an Android thing. Here, I can.
Yeah, background blur is getting confused with it.
Yeah. None. There we go.
So
anyway, it probably, but yeah, the big thing about Androids, it's getting better, but it's no. Yes. iOS is still the king if you're trying to do, especially real-time processing.
Yeah, a lot of latency in Android. Yeah.
Although it's but this is a 3-year-old Android Galaxy S10 Pro.
It's okay. It's enough. We're just trying to make a point here, which is basically there's different types of synthesis. There's different noises that a synthesizer can make. And depending which one are you trying to aim, you're going to need to go for a type of hardware or another different type of hardware, because God knows that in this electronic age, we still don't have the do-all, be-all device. Doesn't exist. Although they're getting there, many devices can do many things, starting with a laptop, with a computer. That one can technically do all of them, although not at the same time technically, but very close, right? Also, it has shortcomings and pitfalls and hurdles to go around when you go computer, as your brain. But it's an option. It's another option to get there. And get there from where? Now I'm going to change the subject to the other side of the people who live in the synth world. They know all of that. They know about synthesis and they know about analog and digital. Synthetic. Do we have an example of modular synthesizer? Is that possible?
Oh, you know what? I actually, when I moved a bunch of stuff around, I forgot to bring it in this room. Give me a second here.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You have yours, right? Yeah.
No, it's okay. We'll just talk about it. Sorry. Or can you find a picture? Just a picture. Something we can pop in. Yes. Originally, all synthesizers, and this is synthesis 101 for everybody who's been living in this world, started as little pieces sewed together to create a bigger device with more functions and more capabilities and bigger, badder, meaner, more sounds and noises and things never heard before, right? When we get the picture, we're going to pop it up. But from where? Because we mainly in this show, we're going to talk about Synth-tar and the technology of trying to marry guitar, which is a fairly expressive and, in a way of speaking, dangerous, because there's no safety net on guitar. Either you play right or you play good, or don't play, because everybody's going to tell. Although I'm not meaning by that on synthesizers and keyboards, you can fake it. You still need to play good, but you get extra help and some safety nets, as in sequencers, drum machines, things that can help you play more than you could on your own. Do we have that?
Yeah, give me a second here. I'm going to show you. Here's
now,
my rack on the iPad. Give you an idea.
Okay, and here you go.
Virtual version of the real thing.
Okay. So all those kind of strips with lights and
all the wires and stuff,
squiggles, are meant to be what we call a module, which is one piece that does one task. I don't mean a sound. Many of them don't even make a sound, but they push all the modules to create a specific type of sound, right? Some of them are just for the looks, like the black one with the very weird green lines moving all over the place. That is just a display showcasing the shape of the wave you actually play. In the sound you would be making would have this shape on some particular conditions. But that would be the marriage of the best, which is the modularity of you choose what you want to use and how do you want to use it inside an iPad, which is just a, well, not pocket, because it's thankfully big enough for my tired eyes and my, not fingers, but rod-sized fingers, computer, which is the full-blown power of the microchip and the binary code, which is one of the options we'll be talking about. So for the synth people who hasn't had much experience or don't have much knowledge, or because why would you? Let's talk about guitars, because we're talking about this weird concept of a guitar. What is a guitar? So for many people, this is a guitar. It's a bulky box of empty air with some weird wires and a stick that you keep grabbing for your dear life. And when you touch one of the wires, it creates a note, a pitch. Okay, that's a guitar, and that's it. End story. Moving on. How is this gonna be playing the other sounds? How does that compute? Well, first of all, because this is also a guitar. No box, no air. This particular one has one extra wire and has this little nifty technologies called pickups. In this particular case, this type of pickup is called magnetic, right? Humbucker, for me, more specific, but that's irrelevant. Those pickups, thanks to the movement of the wire, create through the circuit a voltage, an electrical output that then can be amplified. For instance, with one of those big boys, okay? Big bad boys. But also, Wait, did I say electricity? And didn't I say that a synthesizer is a device that through circuitry and electricity creates sounds? A guitar, an electric guitar, which for simplifying, we're gonna call electric guitar any guitar that has any means of creating voltage out of the movement of the wires, which they are several, and there have been several technologies developed through the years, decades by now, almost centuries. We're getting there. So this out of movement, out of physics, creates electricity. The other one, out of electricity, creates sound, i.e. movement. So can they just be very similar, or at least on the same ballpark, and be interchangeable? Yes, they could. And that's what we're going to talk about. So the same way, by now, okay, we saw two types: big bottom, no bottom. That's it. That's guitars. Not quite. This is a guitar. We got the stick again. We got the wires, although this particular one, they're non-metal. They're nylon. They're plastic. Oh, how does that work? It does. We still are under the concept of no body, no box, solid wood. But wait, where's the thing making the electricity? Where's the pickup? Aha. Here we go for a second type of technology of pickup that A, is relevant for guitars, and B, will become relevant for synth-tars. It's called piezoelectric crystals under this piece of bone that is touching the strings. In fact, it's where the strings are laying down, are touching on the wood. Underneath this white piece of bone, there's a crystal, usually quartz, or a specific formulation that behaves like quartz, which is basically when you push or hit or shake quartz crystals, it would generate electricity. Therefore, we got electronics and we got voltage again. So, but wait, that's it. That's all the guitars you can imagine in the world. Not quite.
Actually, just for reference, you should mention it's the same idea as in drum triggers.
Yep.
The piezoelectric disc. So.
Yep. The same technology they use for digital drum kits, digital drums, which sadly, we're happy to talk about it. We're inclusive. We already said so. This is a safe place, but there's already hundreds of other channels talking about it. So, and they know better than, at least than I do. But yeah, it's the same principle, because for drums you hit something, and that's something which is usually a crystal, a quartz crystal, or some formulation that behaves like quartz, creates a voltage that then talks to a synthesizer the same way a guitar will later talk with a synthesizer. Let me get this before it drops.
As a fun note, I used to rip apart piezoelectric buzzers from Radio Shack, tape them on a guitar, and made a homemade pickup with that. Works great. It was $3.
Did it work?
Yeah, it's great.
I think I remember, and now I'm gonna pull out of Elantric's knowledge. I think I've read or heard somewhere that one Mr. Les Paul, if anybody has heard about the famous Gibson Les Paul, one of the first things he tried to do to amplify his acoustic guitar was to use a phonograph capsule. Is that right, Mr. Elantric?
Actually, he would find a local payphone back in the late 1930s when he was a teenager. He would find the local telephone that was on the outside of the bar or club where he was performing. He would unscrew the handpiece remove the little ceramic transducer, borrow it, and then he could tape it directly to some wires to feed the auxiliary input of a phonograph. So it wasn't exactly the ceramic cartridge with a needle. He was borrowing the local telephone microphone, taping it to his acoustic guitar. He'd play a 4-hour gig, and no one could use a telephone. And then at the end of the gig, he would return that ceramic transducer back into the handpiece of the local payphone.
Oh, I never knew that. Good.
Yeah.
So in this explanation, wait, look, another guitar, but hello, this is bigger and it's longer, but still have 6 strings. Wait, the long guitars I've heard before, they only had 4. Yeah, nowadays we have 5, 6, 7, even I've seen 8 or even 12 string bass guitars. Right? It's basically another guitar, fretted instrument. We still have the stick where we tend to grab for dear life. In this particular case, we're going for solid body, no resonance. Magnetic pickups, specific for low frequencies, kind of. Hello, what is this? It has an extra pickup. This is another type of pickup in which this guitar is able to talk to synthesizers, right? And it's gonna be, I don't know if sadly or luckily, the cornerstone for most of this entire show. This, as we said, this is Roland's proprietary design of a concept that I believe they copied from somebody else. I'm not sure who, because I'm thinking ARP, but I'm not sure. I'm going to ask who actually knows, which is basically is the same concept than the standard magnetic pickups, which is basically a metal moving on a magnetic field generates electricity. It's a physics principle. The difference with this one that can talk to synthesizers is, for accuracy's sake, for polyphony's sake, and for reproduction speed in a way to allow you to play faster, they find out that the best way to do it is to get a whole of these big chunks of pickups, make it really, 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 really tiny, and put 6 of them, 1 per string, each one of them with their own wiring. So it's like having 6 big chunks like this one, 6 of them, one by one, each one with a wire connected to the next piece in the system. And that is what we're going to be referring, is that big bad boy there, is the 13-pin DIN technology, right? Which came after the previous iterations and tries. Once again, I need to go to the source of all knowledge, Mr. Leandric. Was it 23 pins?
24
pins.
And that manifested first on the, I believe they had it on the GR500 initially, but it was known as the GK1 interface, 24 pins. And that was dominant between 1981 to 1989, when the GK13 pin with GK2, which was in small numbers, and most people know of a GK2A, which was marketed for about 12 years before the GK3 arrived in 2007.
Which is the one I just showed on my bass. It's the bass version.
The GK3B, yeah, and that accommodates 6 strings, even on the bass.
I think it's the way I read it is the other way around, because they already have the concept and the design and the technology down for the guitar. So here's the guitar version. It's just a smaller. That is your 13-pin DIN. And probably luckily at the same time that this technology was coming out, as in not the GK3 but the GK1. Sorry, was it? No, you said the GK2 was the 13-pin, right?
Correct.
The GK2 was coming at the market almost at the same time that bass players started going beyond 4 strings. So I guess they just said, oh well, let's just make the same hexaphonic, just bigger. And
GK2B, the very first wide bass style pickup was a GK2B, and that was for bass, and that was around 1991 upon the release of that was it was waiting for a target. They were trying to sort out, because the tracking due to physics for the bass is substantially
it's a little
different.
trickier.
Yeah,
because of the low pitch of the notes takes longer for a machine to count the amount of cycles, because the cycles are slower.
In late 1999 or early 2000, Roland moved from right here. That is a VG8 that debuted in 1995 as the virtual studio, virtual guitar. They had the VS880 virtual, so they had a virtual keyboard. So they were calling everything V-synth, V-guitar, V-bass. So they created a complementary version of the VG88, the next generation of this one, that was painted white, had XLR DI outputs, accommodated specifically targeted for bass guitars and up to 6 strings.
So V-synth, huh? Does anybody ring any bells?
Yeah,
Hello?
it was pretty big. Yeah, do a search on a V-synth GT.
No, sorry, I'm just pulling a joke. Synthetic is really loves his V-synth, and
I wish I had a GT. That's the best one, but it's too expensive. So.
Yeah,
I know. So please correct me, because I'm totally sure I'm wrong. Was it ARP synthesizers the first one who experimented with a hexaphonic pickup on a guitar? Were they the first one?
No, it was Hammond Company was working with Cayman Industries, who owned Ovation. They developed something called the Hammond Condor system, and that had probably the earliest divided pickup available. Now, there was earlier things called the Vox guitar organ that was in 1964, 65, but that used segmented frets, but it did have a divided pickup for getting some sensitivity. It wasn't tracking pitch per se, it's just looking for presence of a signal.
Okay.
But
as a trigger.
But I would say the common people because there was 360 systems, Slave Driver, there's the ARP, Avatar. There's a lot of competing people all in that 1980s, mid 1980s timeframe. There's certainly the what is it? The Shadow Electronics. Shadow is
Shadow guitars.
Shadow of Germany. Shadow was the persons that really funded the mass production of divided pickups, and even today they are the OEM source for Fishman triple play.
Really?
Antares ATG.
What I remember about Shadow guitars.
The Axon AIX-03 that was happening in 1996, 1997.
What is that?
It looks just like a GK3, but it's an Axon Teratech. It's branded Teratech.
We're talking pickups. Okay.
Yeah. Now certainly there's Yamaha had a G1D, and that was a GK2A clone that Yamaha was making themselves. And Yamaha is big enough they can have it made for them. But anyway, there's a lot of cross-pollination. Go ahead.
The memory I had, the memory I had about Shadow guitars is they had a humbucker pickup with equalization inbuilt inside the pickup.
Well, if you look at the history of Shadow, they've had really diverse, very exotic systems. They were the first people that I'm aware of that had the multiplexing analog signals on 1/4-inch cable. So you hook up one TRS cable, and the ring would provide the power, but the tip would be a multiplex of scanning all 6 strings of the connected instruments. Shadow realized that, well, we're in Europe, we'd like to penetrate America. So they licensed the technology. So Kramer made a unit called the Kramer Pitch Rider. And Takamine also had their version as well. But if you look at it, you can say it's the same box, just different graphic label painted on the front. But Shadow of Germany was designing all of them. And really, that was one of the earliest product developments of a gentleman named Andres Soleil, who is he's all over the patents. When you do a Justia patent search, you'll find his name associated with the Shadow, the Axon Teratech, and the Triple Play as well. So he's
I'm sure we're gonna get back to that, gentleman. So
he's probably a very dominant player. Without him, we wouldn't have a lot of the products that we talk about.
Even more of a reason to touch back on him on a later episode. So at the same time, if you mentioned, I'm sorry, I just missed it. Synthetic, do you have your Casio around? Because that was another contestant that make a little dent in that market in the mid-80s. Here we go. This is one of the. All right, this is one. So here what we see. What we see here is that it has standard pickups, and it has one hexaphonic pickup that is totally hidden inside the guitar. Can you turn around and show the back, please? So all those cavities is to allocate the synthesizer, I believe. Is that the one with sounds inbuilt?
This is the memory card here. I can get it open. It's a little tricky sometimes. There we go. This gets access to the memory card for the VG Synth Brain, and I can go my VG10M, program a bunch of sounds, dump them on this card, and put it back in here, and I've got my mobile sounds.
So this because they made kind of 2 families, 2 branches, and like 3 or 4 versions in each family. One of them was only MIDI. The pickup would only output MIDI outside, but already MIDI. And probably here is where all the confusion, or much of the confusion that the Synth-tar community has been trying to debunk.
This is the battery compartment right here. So it's a battery compartment. There's a couple areas with dip switches on the back.
Yes, tons of them.
There's the.
What is it? Is it 1 or 2 9 volts in the batteries?
It's one of those AA capsules like they have in the WX5, but instead of being long, it's a little chunky one. I think it's like it's
like the ones in the phones, in the wireless phones.
Yeah, it's basically
six.
I think it's
batteries. Yeah.
6 AA. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I think it's 6 AA. I forgot, but it's a pain because you have to, for security reasons, they screw it in here.
Oh yeah,
you can't just do a quick release. You have to unscrew it.
No, it's a screw. Although I think it's a screw that you can release with a coin.
Yeah, but the great thing about this guy is it's 3-in-1. You have normal guitar, you have MIDI control out, and you also have synth out.
Exactly.
So you could be all 3 or just one, whatever you want.
Exactly.
Which is really powerful.
And that's one thing that gave Casio a little edge in front of Yamaha, Roland, and everybody else in the market, because the other people in the market, and please you will correct me, Mr. Elantric, they were focusing on just sending pitch to the synthesizer and letting the brain, the outside machine, do the whole heavy weight of making the synth sound out of the guitar. Am I right?
I think it depends on what era and what you're talking about, because there was Suzuki.
Well, these gadgets were out.
Well, yeah, even before that was out, like 1984 timeframe, you had Suzuki, Yamaha, all had instruments like this with, touch kind of keyboards. This one here is a Fender Mustang MIDI
look alike
controller. So this one has a 5-pin MIDI output there, right there. This one makes no sounds at all, but it's very much, people will say, Boy, that's a lot like a Harvey Star Z-tar, which I would argue, yes, indeed it is. It's really kind of a Chinese knockoff of a Harvey Star Z-tar.
We're gonna get to that in a minute.
Velocity strings. And then
the cool thing about the PG380 is it's totally self-contained. You have batteries, you have the synth brain, and it's actually heavy too because of that. So
yeah. And some trivia: the PG380, a white version of that was J.J. Cale's main guitar for about 35 years.
Oh wow!
Even when he's playing those Eric Clapton, the things he has in Chicago every year that used to be the big thing 20 years ago. He would have his annual big concert festival, and you'd see, just do a YouTube thing of JJ Cale and you'll see that same Casio guitar, the PG380, a white one, but he loved it. I think he put a Floyd Rose on it, and he loved it because he was a songwriter, and he liked the fact that all the sounds were built in. And even if you listen to early demos of They Call Me the Breeze, he would be in a hotel room. He'd go on the road, be in the back of the bus with a drum machine and his Casio and headphones and a mini mixer, writing songs.
Yeah, exactly, because that's one of the things that all this technology will allow us. One, we find out which one is the one we want to explore. Yes,
it does a good job of transmitting expression too. I did a really primitive demo a few weeks ago on my channel, a live Casio demo, and you can see when I'm doing vibrato, it's actually transmitting that over the synth. It's.
I mean, and the knowledge, the notion I have is that although it's a little contradictory, the voltage to synth detection and following, it was pretty much there very early on, as early as late 70s.
Also the hammer-on pull-off is not as good as you would expect, but it does.
Those guitars would allow for a very extensive amount of technologies. Something that it would sound, as I said, contradictory is the fact that when the rest of the synth community welcome with open arms the new advent of MIDI, suddenly, somehow, Synth-tar technology took a step back and had to kind of start all over again to go back where it was already 3 years before. But we'll get to that on a later date. So, as you can see, all of you can see, I'm talking now to the audience. The source could be varied because all of these guitars we've been showcasing in screen could become a synth-tar of some sort, of some capability. As I said, I don't believe that there is the definitive product that can do it all perfect. All of them have the shortcomings and the drawbacks and their tradings. As in, if you want this, you need to say, see you later to this other thing. What am I referring? When you come from the guitar world, you come with a luggage of techniques, of modus operandi, if you wish, of things you usually do and you're used to do very precisely because you've been practicing, or at least you should have been practicing for months, days, years, and you get some physical, as in digital digits, not binary, digital mechanics. Then when you try to apply that to the device you get faced to, you find out that it's not that easy, or it's not giving you back what you were expecting, just with a different sound. The performance gets compromised somehow. And that's mostly of what we're going to be explaining in future episodes: why, when, and how. So let's get back to the beginners. So we already showcased that the amount of and type of sounds you can get out of a synthesizer is virtually endless. The type of guitar or triggering device you can use, it's pretty much vast. And that's not even talking about our little brothers, the guitars. Synth, do you have your guitar around, handy, at hand? Ooh, let me show that beauty. Look at that. That white thing with the horn, that's a Roland
AX7.
AX7. Okay.
With the D-beam and everything.
Yeah, man, has to be D-beam. And bar bend, not pitch bend, wheel.
There's expression bar and a ribbon. That thing right here. Let me go reversed here. Is a flexible expression bar and has a ribbon at the same time.
Yes. So the little lamp that looks like a bar, it's that one you can press upwards, as in as it is in the image, from right to left. You can push it that way, and it would behave like a pitch wheel. But the flat surface in between that lump and the white plastic, I believe, is also a touch surface. Is a strip.
It's a strip, right? Yeah.
Good. Because if keyboards weren't expressive enough, synthesizers with extra expression devices can get really, really close to the expressivity or the expression capabilities of a guitar, which is kind of possibly the only thing that synth players would love to get from a guitar. The expression, the total absolute control, which has the downfall that if you're not skilled enough, it's gonna notice, of the pitch and performance and nuance of the performance of your music.
Here's a better view. It was a little dark, so you can see the ribbon here. See the gray ribbon?
The matte part is the ribbon.
So black is the bar, gray is the ribbon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that little box with two little domes on the horn, that's the D-beam.
Right there, where my finger is, that's D-beam right there.
Yeah, gotta have a D-beam. Yep. Now, how do we decide? How do we make ends meet of all these plethora of options? And we just scratched the surface. This is just the gear we have. That's not even half of the gear that has been released to the wild since the first inception back in the, did we say late 60s or early 70s, of a guitar that plays synths, can trigger synth sounds out of a stick with wires. So I'm gonna try to share a little roadmap. We try to put together of the steps you should follow in order to make a little sense out of all of this mess. And let me do this first. Once again, multitasking is not my strong suit, because that is here, and I want this here. So here we go. It's basically a flow chart of what options are there, so you can take your own decisions. Is it going to show? Cool. So I want to play Synth-tar. Once again, I'm throwing it there. If you don't like it, please let me know. Write it down. Throw your synth at the screen. Say, oh, that's bullshit. That doesn't mean any shit. Good. Until somebody brings a better one. In this show, it's going to be Synth-tar, because I can't think of anything better. That's it. You want to play Synth-tar, so what now? Okay? First of all, look at yourself and ask yourself, can I play any instrument, right? Mostly the people watching this either going to be able to play, at some extent, some guitar. And by guitar, I mean either 6-string guitar or bass guitar of any number of strings, or some type of keyboard, piano, organ, accordion, or anything in between. Melodica, that's a keyboard. That works. That teaches you the notes, teach you the scales, teach you the motions. So, or if you don't do any of those, but you still say, hey, I've never ever learned, but I still want to do this type of sounds. I want to do music. Why can I? Who stops me? Nothing. Nothing, absolutely. Thanks at this day and age in 2024, nothing stops you from making music. And oh boy, don't we know that. Let's not mention names. Good. So, this is gonna get tricky. Yes. So, let's start with this one. For the people who come from the stick with the wires and the wood, or graphite, or fiberglass, or God knows, or even I think what's that? The plexiglass. Yes, electric guitars have been made of almost any material known to man, and then some. So, if you play guitar, first decision you need to take is, do I want to still be able to use my guitar? And just let me preface this saying that we assuming that your guitar has some means of being amplificated, right? It has some sort of pickup of any kind, because thankfully technology has evolved. Most of them would work. Guys, could you think of any type of guitar that would not, with a pickup, that would not be suitable for nothing that we're going to talk about in this show?
No, I mean, if you have the audio, at least there's some options that follow audio paths. So as long as you can put like even my $3 piezo pickup on the acoustic guitar would work. So
okay, totally agree. You're totally right, except on the lingo. Okay, let's not. Because I get confused very easy. I try not to do the same to other people. Electric guitars don't put out sound. They put out an electric signal that then gets transformed into sound by the amplification system, right? So, as in, if you put your like you would do, if you put your ear close to the solid electric guitar with no cavities, you will hear no sound. But if you plug out
wires, but if you have only an acoustic guitar, there are options for that as well. So,
an acoustic with a pickup,
some sort of pickup. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what I was asking. Can you think, guys, of any type of pickup that would not work at all with anything? Can you?
No, I can't.
So we agree that as long as the guitar has a pickup, guitar/bass has a pickup, we can go for these options. So do you still want to be able to hear the sound of the pure standard traditional guitar and then add to it some stuff? No. Then you're kind of in luck, because depending the type of synth sounds you want to generate, there's a lot. Sorry, let me rephrase that. No, because of the software options we're showing here. So through the 1/4-inch cable, vastly so, which is the standard connection that all electric guitars since the 20s have been using to output the electric signal they generate towards the amplifier. So out of that cable, there's stone boxes, single stone boxes, like for instance, the Electro-Harmonix 9 series, because I think they have a Synth 9, B9,
what was Mel 9?
The Mel 9, which is meant to sound like a mellotron.
Synth they have older ones too that are also synth based.
Yeah, but there were There was synth technology, and that's another thing we will get to on a later date, because the electronics evolved parallel, and in fact, to my understanding, they evolved from the same core, from the same center log. It's just the branches that the marketing departments created that separate that technology into guitar technology or synth technology. But in many, many cases, they share a common spine, because a capacitor is a capacitor, condenser, a resistor is a resistor, etc., etc. It's the same electronics. Even now that we get to the digital era, they're using the same guts, but for different specialized applications. So these stone boxes from, for instance, Electro-Harmonics, they take the signal more on the fashion of a trigger for the synth people as a voltage trigger, more like a CV control, to then tell the guts inside the pedal to output a sound that is, on the case of the B9, is a Hammond B something, B3, I guess. The Mel 9 is a Mellotron-ish sound, and the Synth 9, I assume, is going to be something like a Minimoog or similar monophonic synthesizers, analog synthesizers. But that is a very complex process of getting a instruction, which is the voltage of the guitar, telling the pedal, hey, this is the note I'm playing. And the pedal saying, okay, but I'm going to take your sound, put it in the bin, and I'm going to put out my sound with your pitch. Is that right, Mr. Landrick?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's also third-party companies. There's Meros with their Enzo synthesizer, and
exactly.
And there's another one as well that has, it starts with an S and it's on the tip of my tongue. I wish I could remember, but it's yet another, high. It's usually who's got the best brains with DSP, who's being able to,
thanks to the computer digital era. It's also kind of the principle based on the COSM technology from Boss. Although,
well, I would lose that moniker because I would just call it DSP modeling, because the branding is changes every day, and you might find it's very exact same similar technology is employed across multiple brands. I mean, to that end, I would say guitar modeling. Well, there's a lot of people that think Line 6 invented the Variax, and it was the very first thing that did guitar modeling. But actually, 2 or 3 years before, you had Roland had the VG8 in 1995, and prior to 1995, you didn't have much in the way of guitar modeling, and specifically that could do alternate pitch tunings. Go from dad, gad, open G, open B at the press of a button instantly with your guitar. That's why a solid body electric is best in that situation, so that it can only be heard maybe 3 feet away, but through the big 20,000 watt PA going to the main house at the Greek Theater, Joni Mitchell could then play all of her, complete song catalog, because she's known to using 12 different tunings, to accomplish 24 songs in a set. And this gave her much liberty to use the VG8. But, the Line 6 does that alternate tuning as well.
The Variax.
Although what it can't, the Roland has a unique thing that you can assign an expression pedal, so it can just bend the B string individually. So now you can get country bends, like a B bender pedal that's popular with, country.
You're talking about the Roland VG, right?
Yeah, all of the Roland V guitar systems feature that. So that would be VG8, VG88, VG99, the Boss GP10. The Cosm portion of the GR55 does that as well as the.
Was the Variax was the Variax a guitar only, or did they have that in a module of any form?
No, it's only sold as a guitar.
And
only
the bass.
Sold as a guitar.
Guitar and a bass.
Guitar, right.
And a bass, yeah.
I think this is a good segue to tell to anybody who comes now or later that as I said in the beginning, we're going to be mentioning brands, and we're going to be recurringly coming to those brands because sadly they're ruling the market. But
well, I would argue that if it weren't for a company to survive, they have to have what we call several profit centers. And sometimes the manager, the owner of the company, or the CEO, or the head of R&D, he's got his pet project. I got a lot of passion for this, and I know that it has a market for it, but that market may only represent 5% of my possible market. So the cash cow will be the wah-wah pedal or the fuzz box. Meanwhile, that's creating enough profit so I can now fulfill my niche with the guitar synthesizer market, because that's where a company like ARP failed, because they had so much excitement and heavy duty investors and promised the world, and
they had no headroom.
In 18 months of a product life, and only to make the company go bankrupt because they had overextended everything and were expecting millions of sales, but it had lots of flaws.
That's why the last man standing, in a way of speaking, in 2024 are mostly corporations, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Just to clarify it, we're going to be talking about Roland technology. We're going to be talking about Boss technology. They're the same company. It's the same R&D, I think. How wrong am I?
Well, in fact, it is. In fact, that's the one thing that, if you're older than 40, you might think of a class distinction, like, oh, the Roland product is going to be the Cadillac, and the Boss is going to be the Chevy Chevette, or the Ford Pinto version, the cheap version.
Exactly.
When indeed, Roland, in around 2012, they did a big market survey with Guitar Center and all their dealers, and they asked, okay, you play guitar, fill out this survey. What brand name recognition do you have, and with high quality? And Boss, selling 100 million pedals, they get the top rank. And there are a lot of 20-year-olds that said, Roland guitar, I don't equate that brand with guitar. Oh, but that Boss, because a lot of people that buy the Boss DS1 and CE1 Chorus have no clue that they're actually a division of Roland. They would just but so anyway, Roland decided, okay, we'll make all the guitar products, even the Cadillac, even our brand new top tier products will have the Boss brand name. And that's been since 2015, which kind of throws people our age a little for a curve, like, well, I wish it was. I'll wait for the Roland version. Some people, I'll keep my money in my pocket until I see the Roland version.
No, I have a Boss SX700 rack effects unit. It's very, very nice.
Yeah,
you wouldn't think it was Boss. So.
No, but that's exactly his point. It's in fact, it's the same company. It's the same R&D. It's the same lab rats coming with the same product. It's just, if it's targeted towards guitar players, they stamp Boss in it. If it's coming from a synthesizer, because we had this divide of guitar and synthesizer shall never meet, then they label Roland on it. But
it's like DoD and Digitech. They're the same company, or at least they were.
Exactly.
So
yeah, exactly.
So, but we still need to make a distinction, because there's areas of development that never got branded Roland, and areas of development that never got before branded Boss. That is going to change, and we'll get to that on due time. Okay, probably not today, because I think we're already running a little pushed. So,
well, like I say, like this is 1995. What does it say? V-guitar.
Let me show that. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's so Roland.
V-guitar VG8 1995.
Yep.
This is 2014. There's your V-guitar.
V-guitar, but that's Boss. Oh no, wait, that's Roland again, right?
That's Boss.
No, that's Boss. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And that's it's much smaller. And you can see that it's much smaller. It's got a built-in effects pedal.
I can play everything that's smaller.
I can play a whole gigs with this, because in one mode I have all my, heavy rock guitar tones for blues, and then I can use this pan pedal not just for volume, but I can pan between this and a 12-string acoustic right in the middle of the song.
Oh,
and then I
awesome.
can pan back and now play my, here's my Burning Stevie Ray Vaughan solo. And I get all those sounds just this one box. I played lots of gigs with this thing. So.
But wait, just so we don't confuse with the roadmap we're showcasing, is this 1/4-inch input or 13 pin? Okay.
13 pin. We'll need
Let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. Let's follow the scheme, the graph. So it's still on 1/4-inch. You're losing your real guitar sound in favor of, because the only means of communication you have is that 1/4-inch cable out of your standard guitar. You also have branded bores, the new, as in SY line, what is it? Almost 7 years?
No, SY 1000 arrived on the scene 2019. Oh, SY 1000 was 2019.
No.
And then the the SY 300 came before that. That was about 2017.
And the first one was the SY1, the Stonebox.
No, that came right after the SY 300.
So the 300, 1000, and then the 200.
Come out of sequence.
As usual, the numbers never make sense. Yeah,
the numbers never make sense.
Never. Yeah. So basically, this is the same concept that Electro-Harmonix was offering, a Stonebox size device. In the case of the SY1, the 300 is as big as the yellow device you just showed. The 1000 is slightly bigger, and the 200 is smaller than the 300, right in between the 1 and the 300. And the 300. Good. But that's kind of irrelevant. What it's doing is taking the 1/4-inch information of pitch, volume, and length of note, and then triggering a physical modeling engine that generates as analog synthesizer sound, as in ARP, Minimoog, not Prodigy, Odyssey, those vintage Oberheim. I think the SY1 even does a little fake synthesis-esque organ.
Doesn't it also like do sampling as well, like playing samples back?
No, that would be reserved for the PCM products, which would be the GR55s.
But that's
GR. Okay, that's it.
It will have the PCM,
which is Rumpler engine, but that's it's gonna come. That requires a different tech, right?
Yeah.
And this last one in the list, just to mention, is a very small box that all it does is, with the same principle, GR500. Yeah, this is a
1990 GR50.
Yeah,
this was
an engine inside.
This was the first GR. This is the one that
what do you mean?
A lot of pros still tour with this even today, and it's pushing 40 years old now. I mean, geez,
Does that one has a synth engine? Oh, I see a memory card, so it does. It does have inbuilt sounds, right?
Wait, isn't this the first GR?
No, that came a year later.
Okay.
Exactly. You just said it. Numbers don't make sense with Roland. So the Sonus G2H is just one of many examples of just taking the 1/4-inch information, pitch, velocity, and time, and rhythm, and translating it, I think, in the Sonus into MIDI, right? Is that right, Synth-Addict?
Yeah, it's. I have one somewhere. I misplaced it a long time ago. It's just kind of a little. It's like a dongle. It's a very small. I had an even smaller one than I think the original was very, very small.
Okay.
Looked like almost like a giant USB dongle, and there was a lot of latency in it. It didn't work very well, so I basically put it aside. Yeah.
A more modern take on this, although is for Eurorack type of synthesizers, the Behringer PP1 is doing exactly the same job. It's taking analog voltage information and transforming it into digital MIDI language. With that, you can go to MIDI accepting synthesizers to trigger them and use their outputs for sound. But also, and we're still on the same on the same 1/4-inch cable. We haven't added anything to the guitar, okay? We are just losing the original pickup sound of the guitar in favor of the extra sounds. Through software, and I understand for this you need what we call nowadays a sound interface, an audio interface, which takes the voltage sound of the guitar. It's not sound, it's voltage, but that's a representation of the sound in voltage form, and makes it digital so the computer can process it. Am I right?
Well, yeah, most people would call that a pitch to MIDI interface.
I'm talking about an audio interface just so we can bring the guitar signal so the software can process it and then do the sounds.
Yeah,
either
well,
transport to MIDI.
Popular ones would be the Sonus from England, the G2H, and they have, I think, an MT1B, little USB, small things, but they're relegated to monophonic. They don't do chords.
Yeah,
that you cannot play multiple things.
That's another drawback that some of these technologies do. For instance, and the SY line of Boss, I don't know if I'm not sharing my pointer, sorry. I'm pointing at the Boss SY series. I think SY1 and SY300, no,
Well,
SY1 is monophonic, 300 claims to be polyphonic. What does that mean?
Well, I think all of them claim to be polyphonic, but with limitations, and it's a symptom of how much how high performance is the DSP involved. With something like the SY1000 has the highest performing DSP, and you can
so do you end up a lot of missed triggers or just not trigger?
A lot of not trigger.
It gets confused.
Not trigger. Yeah, it can get confused.
When we talk about monophonic synth-tar devices, basically you need to do. Otherwise, if you try either the software, the hardware, or both can't follow, it's not really understanding the information you're sending. He cannot make a distinction in between all these 6 notes you're plugging at the same time. So it either travels through all 6 very fast. This is kind of the latest, the most advanced ones, but still cannot play a bang chord of many notes, or it just basically gets stuck in one of them and glitches endlessly. We will show that because I got proof of all those things on our later things. But what we're talking now is still with the 1/4-inch. We use an audio interface to get into our computer. Once inside the computer is when we get things like Mr. Elantric, Jam Origin MIDI guitar, or PD Space guitar. What are those? How do they work? And why would we want it?
I have it here on the iPad.
Well, they're exploiting the fact that your modern tablet, specifically an iPad, will have a lot of horsepower that you can now harness that horsepower and write the application. So it'll run. Here he's showing it on an iPhone, I believe.
iPad.
So that's an iPad.
iPad. Okay. So anyway, the Jam Origin MIDI guitar is unique in that you can, using that 1/4-inch input to a USB class compliant audio interface, and you should have a high performance one. Not everyone will work adequately.
Okay, good to know.
My favorite. I have a fun demo for this too on the last page.
Yeah.
So you can see it's already tracking my voice here.
But if you're serious about using the app, I highly recommend the X-Sonic X-Tone.
Thank you, Synthetics.
X-Sonic X-Tone USB audio interfaces for guitar players. They're floor units, and I like the X-Tone Pro the best because it also has mappable multifunction MIDI foot switches to now that I can control that thing. So you could literally show up with your iPhone and your X-Tone Pro running Jam Origin, which is also running, say, a Mellotron app, or there's all manner of iOS synth applications. You can now trigger all those MIDI synths live. And in fact, the best use is usually you do what is commonly heard on the Chris Isaak Wicked Game song, where you say, wow, that sounds pretty breathtaking. How are they accomplishing that? And even on the Wicked Game song, what you're hearing there is you're hearing a straight a Stratocaster, but also with a MIDI pickup that's going off and playing synth harmonies and various things in the background. They have multiple layering. In fact, I think there was a famous SOS magazine, Mix magazine, where they went into a deep dive in to indicate all that. Because when you first hear the song, you think, well, it's a thick song. I wouldn't think there's MIDI guitar there, but indeed there is MIDI guitar there. The other famous one would be, Judas Priest's Turbo Lover. That one serves as a total showcase for the Roland GR700, which that engine was based on the Roland JX 3P synthesizer, and that opening, all those envelopes and stuff.
I would pay tons of money to see Kiki Downing showcasing a 77, a G77.
Well, much of that is the reason why even in the local, the Roland Cloud, they're making a big deal about, oh, look, we now have the JX3P, and you're thinking, well, why on earth would I want that? And you find out that that was the favorite synth of Oingo Boingo, and Devo as well would use that sounds. And as soon as you hear those sounds, you're like, oh, fuck, there's that sound I heard on that record that I used to dance to in 1982. So
it's funny, too, if you hear the Rick Beato interview with Andy Summers recently.
Yeah,
and they said during Synchronicity, he was using an early MIDI guitar for synth stuff.
300.
So,
the GR700,
700, thank you. So, and going back to this, let's clarify it. Jam Origin MIDI Guitar 2, which I believe is also working on MIDI Guitar 3. Is that right? They're about to release that?
They've released it for Mac OS, but the common available one for a gigging musician is usually going to be the iPad-based MIDI Guitar 2. And again, that doesn't give you any sounds. That's simply interpreting the quarter-inch analog input into.
Actually, it does. I have a demo I can show you. It's
okay. That's true.
Cool.
They keep adding features and features and features, and that's where there's
a synth engine to it. Can you go for it?
Yeah. Well, let me do the last page, because the last page is where we talk about the people who don't want to play.
Yes. So. Cool. Yeah. Let's do that. So back to the.
This is the other tool though mentioned in the list.
The PD Space synthesizer.
Yeah. Now PD Space is developed by a longtime member of V-Guitar forums named Paul Dreesen, and I may have.
It's only $13.
He's a great resource. He was part of the original Jam Origin development team, but he also had some hardware hacks to the GR30 to make it track even faster. And he posted some mods for a while. Then he realized that, well, I'm a smart guy. I'll take advantage of this iOS development platform and hopefully make some money. And I think that if you're starting out, the best $13 you could spend is buy that PD Space guitar. The demos are just breathtaking what you can do, because it's a one-stop shop for a quarter-inch guitar pickup without adding anything. So literally, I could go off and put a little AB box and like that Xtone Pro and just hit a button, and now, oh, here's my synth. Okay, then just add it to what you already do. And before you know it, you're playing Billy Idol, Steve Stevens tunes, like that kind of things, Rebel Yell, where you got some synthesizers happening in the background,
Okay, careful. This might make a sound. Not really. So, because we would love to, you can hear me, right? We would love to be able to showcase video demos of all the things we're talking about. Sadly, we haven't been able to clear permissions for any of them, except this particular one we do. So let's see, how can I share so I can show you? I'm going back here, and I'm going to remove this for the second. Stop screen, present.
Right now, I got a close-up of Andy. Yeah, that's all I see.
Yeah, you just have me on the screen.
Yes, that's good, because I'm trying to.
Because I'm not doing anything. So just saying.
Okay, you don't want to be, then you won't. Okay. Let's go, because let's do this. Okay. Just a little more while I fight attack. Fight attack. Now,
Tech Fighter.
Tech Fighter. Oh, that's a bad name. That rocks. That needs to go somewhere. That's definitely. I think it's, yeah, got it. It's coming. It's coming. Wait. What? It? Yes, it's coming. Listen to this and enjoy. Will it? If I do, open and play. How professional.
Oh, yep. So that's a standard electric guitar, no custom, 6-channel pickup or 13-pin cable, just a standard 1/4-inch plug going into a class-compliant audio interface into his computer, iPad in that case. And
And
iPads are fairly robust.
in this particular case, it's not doing that much. I was trying to get the more electric.
Yeah, in fact, try
example.
this. There's a demo with a bass that I sent you about three or four others. We have permission.
I'm getting to that in just once. Oh my god, I lost again. I'm lost in the plot. So,
but as you can see, you're hearing
the second one was the best.
Polyphony.
Yeah,
you're hearing
one.
chords. So the PD space guitar is able to extract and create very much that SY 300 type experience where you get polyphony and can play chords.
Wait. Were you able to hear that? I don't know. Oh god, I'm bad with technology. So bad. Who would believe? Who would believe somebody talking about high technology guitar player and is so shit with computers? So let me share this again, and this one, and here we go. This is breathtaking for just a 1/4-inch technology. Sorry. Lovely. Sorry. My bad. Oh, I'm bad at this. I need to train. need to do some training, because when you, now we're getting somewhere, and now we're getting the whole experience.
You can hear it, but it's a little low.
Yeah, I think it's your mic echo cancellation or. Better.
Wow.
In my mind, that's tracking better than a lot of the, dedicated synthesizers are.
In mine as well. And let us just reiterate, this is just a 1/4" no specific pickup, a standard cable, just software in is it available for Mac and Windows?
iOS, just iPad.
Only iOS, okay. Good to know. Sorry for the Windows people like me. Not a chance. So let's go back a little, let's rewind and go back on track, because we're doing awesome. We're doing really, really well. Go for this, share again, and bring it in. So this is what you can do if you are willing to give away your guitar sound. Although we just saw that PD Space Guitar blends both, is capable of blending both. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. So it shouldn't be in this column. Oh well. But if you still want to retain it, that would imply that you need to install a specific pickup in order to do that. Many times it would imply adding a pickup to the one that the guitar already has for a standard audio signal, quotes, or in the case of even of an acoustic, just adding a specialized pickup to a guitar that has no amplification possibilities, because you could apply a GK system, a 13-pin system, or even a triple play wireless or a triple play connect to an acoustic guitar with no pickups, because you don't really want to have it, or you have a microphone for the acoustic side. Okay, is that right?
Yeah, way down in the weeds, even if you're a nylon string classical guitar player, if you use a very specific brand of Thomas stick strings, and they tend to call them ropes for some reason. It could be a translation from German to English, but there's a very specific brand that has some iron content that allow you to work with a triple play or the GK3 magnetic divided pickup, even with nylon strings, because the strings themselves have some iron which react with the flux of the magnetic path of
in
a
the
typical
nylon
magnetic pickup. In this case, the divided magnetic pickup.
You're talking about the 3 nylon string, the nylon core ones, not the winded ones.
Yeah, all 6 strings have, even the solid ones have some steel.
Amazing.
There were some players had a very unique, they wanted to try some of the latest LR Baggs magnetic sound hole pickups with their nylon string guitar. So it was created specifically for that. And the side effect is it also works with MIDI pickups, as we call it MIDI, but it's really a misnomer. But in the case of the triple play, it would be a divided pickup. Divided magnetic pickup is really what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's call it everything for its real name. Either divided hexaphonic, because it's 6 pieces, the hex 6, magnetics, or in the case of nylon or any piezoelectric bridge pickup, would, in the case of my piezoelectric bridge or that Godin that you have behind you, is that the nylon string or the screw string?
This is a steel string that has an RMC piezo bridge. Now,
Okay,
if it were a,
let me
if
bring
it,
you back to the front.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So each of those brass saddles
Exactly.
have an individual piezo,
Mm-hmm.
east of the Rockies, west of the Rockies pronunciation. But
Exactly.
anyway, this is a
Okay.
RMC, gives you a 13-pin output right there that says 13-pin right there.
And you still have acoustic and electric individually out. Great.
Yeah, and I would also say the biggest fallacy that you go on most guitar forums, everyone will call 13-pin. Oh, it's got the MIDI 13-pin, and I've got that
No, it's not MIDI.
GK3 MIDI pickup, and it's not
No,
a
it's
spec
not
of
MIDI.
But
exactly.
Yeah, there's only 1% of the people will ask that. If you go into Guitar Center, oh yeah, we don't have any of those MIDI cables or those MIDI pickups in stock. I'll order another GK3. You know.
Yeah, that's the problem. Many times this misconception or this misinformation of there are many times half truths, and many other times it's just they need to dumb it down so people who is totally newbies to the matter could wrap their hands around it. Because if you try to explain this 2-hour long show in 30 minutes inside a shop inside of Guitar Center with 20 people trying to play Eruption and failing, it's not going to work. We know that. So they say, oh yeah, it's a MIDI pickup, so you get MIDI sounds out of a MIDI synthesizer with this pickup. They just shortcut the whole explanation of the real technology. Let me take this Polar Thola, if you don't mind. I'm going to show you your question because it's relevant. This one says, the Fractal and Axe-FX, and to my understanding, is the same technology that Boss labels Cosm.
Well, no. Well, here on Fractal, they have the Axe-FX. They have some built-in synth triggering technology that's actually closer to the SY300 type of an experience. Likewise, even on the Line 6 Helix, they have some synth voices as well, where they make it so you can trigger a synth from one string. And, you know, if you work around it, you can hit that patch and, okay, I'll hit that one string and out comes a C minor chord, you know, that sounds like a Oberheim. But it just does that one canned sound. And as long as you work around it, it could work for some people and not others. But you know, everyone's playing the same sort of thing, and what I'm saying is that they're trying to provide the widest palette of sounds for their customers and their customer base. But to my knowledge, right now the Fractal doesn't do any pitch to MIDI. Likewise, Kemper doesn't do any pitch to MIDI. But likewise, that's why when we get to what I would fall under the umbrella of V guitar, I would say there's modeling opportunities because there's a gentleman named Bill Rupert who's a Chicago session player who's known. He's the developer of the Electro-Harmonix M series pedals. You know that, but he also works with the 9 series, M9 and all that Synth 9. He also works with Kemper as well, and he profiled his Roland GR300 and offers that to the Kemper world, and my God, it sounds pretty good. You know, so if you want to do your Pat Metheny on a Kemper, just get the Bill Rupert GR300 profile, and I'm getting in the ballpark here.
I was attaching that technology to Cosm, as in the meaning that out of a quarter inch, that the machine is detecting voltage and extracting pitch and volume and timing information. And
I would relabel it as just DSP because it's really no different than what Zoom is doing with the G5 or Line 6 has been doing since you know, the Pod and
exactly
the Axis amp that they had before that. But
opposite
you know,
of going to a synthesizer and triggering a sample of a mini Moog. That's the distinction I'm trying to make.
That would be the GR PCM. As soon as you hear PCM, that usually means a rompler, a sample. You're playing,
and that comes
something
with a completely different set of problems. So
yeah,
we were
which also explains why you don't use an SY box to make piano sounds. Like I want to get acoustic grand pianos. How do I get acoustic grand pianos? I want to sound like that sample, or I want to sample my cat and play that. Well, you really need a sampler or a rompler, because even the GR30 and stuff had even the older GR30 and which the 33, which is Steve Vai's favorite, the 25-year-old GR33. He likes it because it has a little scat singing thing that sounds like that 1960s.
Oh, the do sound, do.
Yeah, do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yamaha has a bunch of those sounds too.
What year is the 33?
Oh, GR33 came out like 2006.
So it's post JV generation. Roland JV.
Roland, yeah, it's after that. Yeah.
Okay, because I know a little tiny bit about that. Good. Moving on. So install custom pickup. If you don't want to install a pickup in your guitar, you still can have fretboard system replacement, which is pricey, and basically you need to you need professional application for it. A luthier can do this job, and to my knowledge, only what could it be? 3 luthiers in the world can do this job.
No, there's many. In fact, you go to the RMC pickups, and he has a luthier list. He lists about 150 luthiers that are approved to install RMC pickups. But luck of the draw, if you have the technical chops to install an RMC piezo poly drive MIDI pickup system, you possess this exact same skill set to install the Roland internal kits. Or some people get clever and I'll take the triple play and which looks very much like this, take it apart, take the guts of the PCB board, and let's put it inside my custom guitar. And here's your custom guitar with the built-in triple play. But where'd they source the parts?
What is the name of that? First of all, you said pickup. That's where I'm getting confused.
RMC pickups. That's Richard McClish.
But that's a pickup.
It's a brand of a product line of pickups. Go to the RMC pickups site. Just do a Google search.
Let me go through this first, because what I'm talking here is not a pickup per se. It's basically lifting up the fretboard. If you look at a guitar, there's a black area, and then is the brown area.
Yeah.
Right? That black area is what we call the fretboard, is this part where the metal beads are nailed into the wood. That's the fretboard. This solution would imply ungluing the whole of it and wiring the neck with new wiring to connect the frets with wires to the brain system in the cavity.
Well, that would be, and most people start fresh with a brand new custom instrument, and the guy named Steve.
Which system does that, where you have to replace it?
Well, you don't replace it. You buy an instrument from them, but they stole the idea. They stole the idea that it has been around for 40 years from industrial radio of Australia.
Okay.
For instance, this is the closest we have here in UK. This is Rob O'Reilly guitars. I couldn't clear permissions to show the video of how this guitar, all that guitar offers. But for instance, it's offering the fretboard already implemented with all the sensors. Every fret creates a electronic contact with the metal of the strings once the string is depressed and touches the fret. So it creates kind of a sync the battleship coordinates to tell the brain which note is being played, when it starts and when it finishes, and how hard and how loud. Also, the bridge is sensing how loud the velocity is being sensed also by the bridge. On top of that, this particular luthier is offering a touchpad on the fashion of the Chaos Pad controller. to either change MIDI parameters in the brain or change modulation parameters, assign modulation activities to the nodes, etc., etc. This sorry, in the corner where in the top corner where you can see the bell button. Let me show you. What's this? Solange 6 IR products.
35 years.
No, as I said, it's not new. In fact,
with that's wired frets. That's zero latency in theory, but it's
same as the
incredibly
syntax
fast.
we were talking about. Same as the syntax. It's the same technology. It's not brand new. It's not yesterday's tech. No, it's very old tech. Problem is, people, you can see how this luthier is offering. Apart from the Chaos Pad and hundreds of memories this particular one has, what this one makes it special compared to the previous iterations, and this one is outputting MIDI already. It does the MIDI conversion straight in the guitar and has a 5-pin DIN to come out. So I hopefully would be able to show if it's here. Once again, we can see a very big chunk of the guitar needing to be removed for the brains. And it's not gonna show me, no. Basically comes with guitar out, as in a standard magnetic pickups out. I don't believe it has a brain inside, as in it doesn't generate synthesizer sounds per se, but the MIDI outputs is already extremely, it can do ratchets, it can do glitches, it can do all sorts of things that, for instance, triggers like the Chaos Pad or some other things we're going to talk in a minute can do. It's all inbuilt, it's all inside the guitar. Drawback is it looks like as the way it looks, so take it with a pinch of salt. And this is the biggest drawback. And this is starting from. So basically, you have to order, has a lead time, and get your pocket ready.
18 months.
Exactly. But it's an option. That way you don't have, and now let's do the whole process back. So remove and stop, and now present. I'm getting good at this.
Sometimes. Practicing.
Yeah. Practice makes better. So that's one of the ways of not adding an extra pickup to your guitar in order to get all this stuff. In this case, you buy a completely different guitar. There's another luthier in America that can retrofit the fret to string contacts into any neck you send them the guitar. By removing the fretboard, putting all the wire, changing the type of frets, and installing a new fretboard with all the wiring straight to a cavity inside. Once again, money. Then another way is what you call the GraphTech Hex piezo system, the Ghost system, which in fact it shouldn't be here because it's a kind of adding a pickup to the guitar. It's kind of, but you don't see it.
I wouldn't even put it in that box because the GraphTech is basically the same as an RMC poly drive, which basically what those are piezo versions of the Roland 13-pin interface.
Like they don't put out show.
But in that case, the Fishman triple play, it puts out USB MIDI over USB class compliant, so it's not no 13-pin at all in the Fishman.
Yeah, but wait. Okay, let's now go to the second option. Yes, you're happy with adding a pickup as in external,
right?
And that's what I mean by no adding. It's either internal jobbies that don't look out and external jobbies that you can do even yourself. For instance, and by that we mean the 13-pin tech, which is the one that is available at the moment.
Well, I'd say the GraphTech is not for. And you got to be very comfortable with electronics to install a GraphTech on any type of guitar. It's a little more daunting.
Whereas Mr. Landrick, that's not my design. I didn't wrote those in those columns.
I know. Yeah.
This is what I
that's
copied off the thing. So this is the boxes you had.
Okay. The boxes, yes, but I think things are moved around. But it's okay. We're going to clarify. So the Fishman triple play, I believe at the moment there's two types available, what they call wireless and what they call connect. Is that right? So one
Correct.
of them, I don't know what type of wireless language is using. I don't think it's Bluetooth.
It's a proprietary interface. They have a patent on it. It's not MIDI. It's their own protocol. Okay. It's a bidirectional protocol because they're scanning the knob for some status and GPIO type activity. But the main thing is that right there in that interface, that's it looks about this physical size, but inside on the PCB board is a DSP that is performing the MIDI conversion and then transmitting it over a proprietary wireless protocol to their what looks like a thumb drive, but it's really the USB wireless receiver. Whereas to the computer that you're attaching it to, it looks like a MIDI over USB class compliant interface for MIDI. And that would be true for both versions. The Connect, which is no wireless, is just straight from the pickup and a little more affordable, or the wireless version, which has the separate little receiver dongle that would go into your computer. But that would work in an iPad. It works on Windows, works on Mac.
What would be the business with the Connect? Is the same type of language, just down a USB player?
Lower cost, and some prefer it in a studio environment, because if they say, hey, I'm in a studio, I'm no further than 6 feet away from my computer all day where I use my guitar. Give me the Connect. I'll just plug it in, and I don't have to worry about the wireless and recharging my, because wireless means batteries. There's no
means
so you do have to.
It means range and interference.
Yeah, and there's some people that were the first adopters of the wireless Fishman triple play. They go on tour in some facility, and at sound check it's fine, but then you fill 3,000 seats with cell phones, and now you've got lots of Wi-Fi traffic, and nothing happens, or you got more glitches than you knew.
Yeah,
so
you would wish to. No,
they would prefer the wired connection.
So the Connect, what type of cable is using to connect to the
USB.
computer? USB standard, right? Cool.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And I understand it's pretty affordable. It's almost half price of any GR system, right?
No, I think the Connect is about $350.
But that's it. You don't need a brain. With a GR55, you need a 600 quid for the brain and 200 quid for the pickup.
But remember, you the deal breaker to achieve the lowest real-time latency, you should at minimum have an iPad Pro, and even better would be a Apple MacBook Pro, with an M
obviously
CPU, and before you know it, and it turns into $3,000 minimum, or some people have $10,000 in their MacBook Pro.
And thank you very much, and that's a very good point. That is I think it's important to count all the options that we're going to talk now and in the future. Every time we talk about software or software dependent, as in the company banks on you having a computer capable enough to handle the transformation from electric signal from the guitar into something that sounds like a synth of any kind.
Well, it also
would be reasonable to understand that you need to add up the price of that capable computer to the whole bundle. So it's kind of a false economy in a way.
It really depends on your use case. If you're doing nothing but creating film soundtracks that you're going to distribute to some other production company that's going to marry it to the film in a sound lab, you don't care about real-time performance. Real-time performance comes with a cost. If you want to go out and jam with Peter Gabriel with his band and play live, and you want to use pitch to MIDI, and you need everything like that going, you're going to have, a very
hardware.
substantial investment in a
dedicated
Apple
hardware, not using
MacBook.
a computer with it.
Yeah. So, well, that's why. Yeah, the dedicated hardware.
Only that's one job.
Yeah, but
I don't
so I would say
that's just me.
But then you have system updates and other issues, and
exactly. As
I mean, to that end, that's why there are a lot of. Well, but I know a lot of pros who've ditched their cables and everything and just using Jam Origin, on their MacBook. Because they say, for my use case, I'm just using it to trigger that sound design that's coming in when the monster comes through the door. And, case in point would be a gentleman named, case in point would be Chuck Hammer. Chuck Hammer, if you look on IMDb for Chuck Hammer, he's had quite a career for 30 years doing soundtracks. Where did he get his start? He got his start being Lou Reed's synth guitar player hero in the 70s. He ended up playing with David Bowie. So when you hear David Bowie doing Ashes to Ashes on the Scary Monsters record,
that was him.
He had already used Robert Fripp. He had already used Adrian Belew. Those guys weren't available. He hired Chuck Hammer. So on doing Ashes to Ashes and Scary Monsters, all those thick guitar tunes, that's a gentleman named Chuck Hammer. And after that, what do you do after that? Well, he then gets hired he went full into film score work. So there's a lot of popular TV shows, Housewives of Orange County, oddball TV stuff, whatever's happening on cable. He did the soundtrack of Oddball Mysterious Things. When the door opens and they walk in and they see their breathtaking thing, just sound design bed. So there's a lot of market for, it's not, is it music? You tell me. It's sound design. So
good. Before we move on, can any of you think of anything we're missing in this particular setup? Coming from guitar, knowing a little bit of guitar and wanting to play synths. Are we missing something here? I don't think so.
Well, there's the modular people, and there's
good point. Thank you.
There is a guy over in. Let me think now. Make sure before I misspeak. I want to make sure I get my names right.
Okay, no rush.
Come on.
I know, starting with the very cheap and monophonic Behringer PP1, that's your first introduction into guitar triggering modular synthesis. And it's, at least in UK, it's only $100.
I mean, there's all kind of pitch to MIDI stuff as well. Like Roland GDXI has a pitch to MIDI circuit in it. Korg, MS-20 does pitch to CV.
Well, that's
there's a lot of pitch to CV stuff as well. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But there's a custom divided pickup brand and interface, and you name it, it's all custom. A lot of people love it, and the people that love it, they're the people that own the Eventide H9000. Maybe 3 of them.
Okay.
So they are dealing
Money's
in
no object.
Bingo. Yeah. And if you have that path, there's a whole growing modular synth world that you can now, here's a module that you can now plug in both a 13-pin, or you can go straight to, here's 6 channels of CV or 8 channels of CV, because I'm playing an 8-string, fan fret instrument.
7.
Yeah.
And although we talked about the dedicated MIDI guitars, we didn't. It's not in this list, but we did talk about them. So
cool.
Yeah.
So then, sorry, wrong window here. Oops. If you can play keys, okay. And please allow me for a little bit of humor. So you want to play guitars from a keyboard, or you want to play like a guitar player from a keyboard, from a keyboard paradigm. First of all, ask yourself, do you want to play up front on the stage, or are you happy being in the background of the stage? If you want to go up front, Mr. Guitar is your answer. Do you have that camera ready?
Guitar?
Synthetic?
Yeah, guitar, sir, still.
All right.
There you go.
You can hang it on your neck like you would a guitar.
Yeah, there's a strap there somewhere.
Obviously, exactly like you would need on a guitar, you would need a strap. Yeah. There's all sorts of combinations, sizes, capabilities with synth engine inbuilt, without synth engine inbuilt, what we would call MIDI controllers, wireless, wired, all sorts, all through the years. It's another one of those products, sorry, that theoretically shouldn't exist because theoretically nobody buys them, but they keep coming back every so often. In fact, in case of the Korg, I think they took them 7 years to go back to release a new guitar.
Yeah, they had the RK. What was it called? The RK something or other, and they're still around. I've seen used ones, but they're kind of rare.
What's that? Sci-fi new. Ooh, what's that?
Modular pickups, and that's the company. That's the company, and
that's what you meant by modular. Okay.
Yeah. So you buy as many of those modulars as you have strings. So some people have maybe they have the old stick, where they got 10 strings.
Good point. Thank you. Now I understand, because the minute you said modular, my synth brain went to modular synthesizer, like a Moog.
Well, in fact, there's a gentleman on my forum he's the California distributor for sci-fi. Frankly, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Sci-fi or something.
Yeah, sci-fi maybe. But anyway, he's created a modular synthesizer modular interface for the pickups to go. Now you can trigger all those new growing things that you see at the Music Mess.
Now I follow you. So basically, like I showed a 7-string guitar, since guitars...
in this case, it'd be completely modular. So you got modular from the string to the speaker, so.
Because, and once again, please correct me, when it comes to pre-manufacture, as in buy it in the box and attach it to your guitar, at the moment, to my knowledge, the limit is 6 strings, either on a guitar or a bass guitar. Nobody has ever produced any pitch to MIDI or any type of pickup for any guitar beyond 6 string. Am I wrong?
The year is young.
Exactly. Shh. Hush, hush. Good. And that's a limitation, but that's a limitation that is not going with the times, because kids are using 7 strings and are using, well, when I say kids, anything younger than me means everybody. Are using 6-string basses, 7-string basses, sticks. I have never ever seen a pitch to MIDI or any type of pickup that could be applied to a stick and trigger synthesizers.
Oh, sure. Yeah. People are doing that. They've been doing it for 30, 40 years. In fact, the gentleman that created the stick, he would take GK pickups.
Mr. Chapman.
Yeah. Emmett Chapman. He would take this pickup, take the metal cover off, isolate it down to the individual pickups that are mounted on a printed circuit board. He would then put 2 of them side by side with a custom radius and string spacing on a custom implementation. And he would recommend, buy 2 GR55s, run one for the low, one for the high, one set in bass mode, one set in guitar mode. In fact, do a Google search on Emmett Chapman dual GR55 stick, and you'll hit do image search, and you'll see all the people that are doing it. Now, all the people that are doing it is probably 12 people.
Exactly. But think about
not that many Chapman stick players in general, right? I mean,
exactly. In fact, those 12 people could be 75% of every stick player in the world.
Yeah.
So
there's a local guy who plays at the art and wine festivals here who's quite good, but I don't see a lot of Chapman sticks around. So
you won't. But think about Tony Levin, what he already had been doing all his life with brain fart.
Peter Gabriel and everything before.
No, what he did with King Crimson. And on top of that, add 2 GR55s to the stick. Jesus Christ.
Well,
they don't need any more band.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
But as I said, this modular pickup you just show on your phone is the answer to those types of instruments, what we call extended range guitars, more than 6 strings and beyond, both on guitar and on bass guitar. So that is something to look forward. So guitars, we just show you, could be wireless, could be wired, could be just a controller, or have an inbuilt synth. It's all about price, weight, because the more things you put inside, the heavier it gets. Good, but that, although it's relevant, is not technically a guitar.
No, but I'm just saying, when you're looking at alternate controllers, this would be a MIDI controller.
But we're getting
this
there.
This one does have some internal sounds. Now, nothing is to write home like the Casio PG380, but it does have a general MIDI sound set built in.
It's like this Easy EG too. It has buttons on the fretboard.
Bingo,
buttons, not strings.
Yeah, and they both have whammy bars because you can't bend the string, so you use the whammy bar.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we're gonna get to that because those,
of course, other alternative controllers, you can use this. You know, you can use Tenorion on the iPad to do guitar stuff. So
we're getting there. Just hold your horses. We're getting there. Right. We were doing so good.
Well, he mentioned alternative controllers. So that's why.
Yeah, but no, not yet. I wasn't. He did. Pointing fingers. Good. We did. We were doing so good. So, guitars. As I say, internal synth, attached plugin with guitar sounds or emulations, where you can have inbuilt or triggering outside through MIDI mostly. Guitars, I don't ever heard of any guitar working on voltage. All they ever did connecting to outside modules were MIDI. Am I right?
Well, the argument could be made that the earliest time you see Edgar Winter playing his essentially standing up playing Frankenstein.
The 2600 keyboard, yeah.
Our 2600 keyboard, yeah.
And he was doing that way before 1983, way before the birth of MIDI. And so he was using control voltage is what he was using to trigger.
He wasn't named guitar yet. Although he was playing the keyboard like a guitar. Yes.
We had George Duke on the Moog Liberation. So
yeah. And you got Jan Hammer even on the Wired tour with Jeff Beck. He was standing up as well.
What was the deal with the Liberation? Was it an inbuilt analog synthesizer inside the guitar? Was it triggering?
It's basically a Moog Rogue, but a little bit better in a guitar format. So it's a proper synth by itself.
So it's not. That's what I specified. When connected to an external device, all I've ever heard was, apart from the Frankenstein example, which is pioneer and mental, because that shit is very heavy.
So it's Liberation. Yeah.
No more Liberation heavy, but very close, I've been told. They usually basically communicate through MIDI. So they're more like on this side of the 80s than on the other side of the 80s.
Well, but I would argue that because the big birth of modular in the last 10 years, CV keyboard controllers there's far more available today than there was 15 years ago.
And they probably work way better and they're more reliable.
Well, the big deal is no latency. You know, it's much lower latency. Yeah.
Obviously, CV is instant. That's why we will get back to that. So if you don't care about going front stage, just any regular synthesizer like just showed with guitar samples. But remember, boys and girls, your guitar, even extended range, even a 7-string like I just showed at the beginning. Let me just a 7-string. It's only 3 octaves. Is this much of your keyboard, not the whole of it. That's the first giveaway that makes your guitar samples sound bad because
you don't like those little
sounds. Yeah, that's not a guitar, never will be, unless you're talking about guitar with pitch shifting, right? Then you go beyond.
Indeed, even that PG380 and its counterpart, the MG510, which looks exactly the same, but the MG510 was strictly MIDI output, had no internal sounds. But among the real-time controllers you had there was a pitch octave shift. You could go low, where I am now, or octave above. So you go octave below, octave above, right in real time, in the middle of the solo while you're playing. It was pretty fantastic.
We're past that. We're talking about from a keyboard trying to play guitar sounds on a guitar fashion, right? First of all, range. Careful. Second, remember that guitar amplifiers are mid-range amplifiers, low pass and high pass. Just focus on the mids. That's where the guitar lives. Because if you go full range, it stops sounding like an electric guitar. It starts sounding like a violin. There, I said so, and I'm sticking.
Hey, what do you have against violins?
I have nothing against violins, but if I press a preset that says guitar, I know I'm following. I'm just keeping up. If I press a preset that says guitar, I want it to sound like a guitar. I want it to sound like this. Otherwise, what's the freaking point? Moving on, back to the subject. So if you don't care about going front stage, regular synth. If you don't want a guitar, then here is when synthetic, that's your go. Alternative controllers and triggers and ways to play guitar sounds. And in fact, I don't think that's, now I can see where I think you got it wrong, because I crossed many arrows and the boxes are not in the right places. I don't think this was.
That's what happens when you have 10 minutes to make something. So, you know.
Exactly. No, that one's on me. All right. So how can you, not playing guitar, not playing keys, can play synthesizers and guitar sounds from things like, show us.
Oh. Well, this is just one of many.
Yep.
Hold on. You have Tenorion, you have pad controllers, you have all kinds of crazy stuff. You have the fake guitar he was showing, the fake guitar I was showing.
Give me a 30-second description on what are those dots and how would you interact with them.
So this is 16 steps by 16, basically 16 pitches, 16 layers of pitch. So it's locked to, this is an Ionian scale, so it's the white keys basically, but you can go change it, right?
Cool.
So it's usually 4/4 by default, but you can change it to whatever you want, kind of within reason, more in the app than the hardware. And then you just, you put in your different things and you have layers to add different sounds. So 16 steps, 16 layers, 16 parts, 16 pages. So you can make giant songs out of this thing.
This thing has the synth engine, or it's just trigger and outside engine?
It's the same samples that came with the Tenorion. There's also another version that has more drum and bass electronic sounds in it, but
so it has its own engine.
But it's also MIDI too. You don't have to use any of the sounds with it. You can do full MIDI with it.
It's both basically. Okay. Yeah. Next, what else do you have?
Next is well, we already showed this, but I'll show it again.
Cool.
Easy EG fake guitar with button frets instead of strings. There's strings down here, but your expression needs to be added with the whammy bar here.
Could you please drop the iPad? Could you please strum those into the microphone, because that's something worth signifying.
They're just like the strings. Well, they're actually a little bit softer than the strings on the another portable guitar, but you can hear that.
Oh, okay. So this is an improvement, because I think that the one that Elantric has is one of the first generations who had thick wire rods.
Well, like this one here.
Hold on a second. Second.
So what we're looking at there, that's Stevie Wonder at NAMM playing controller called an arpeggi.
Oh, the arpeggios.
And
Okay.
that's essentially a MIDI controller.
Well,
Now,
thank
I'm
God it's
not gonna.
very blurry. Otherwise, the
Yeah,
algorithm would catch a nut on that.
and I don't want to get a copyright strike, but you can find that YouTube demo. Just do a search on arpeggi. Here, I'll get a picture of the name.
Can you show again that guitar controller you had with buttons on the fretboard, please?
Yeah, yeah. So most people would say this is a poor man's knockoff of a Harvey
Mm-hmm.
Starr Z-tar. He developed the
Mm-hmm.
Z-tar around 1988.
Mm-hmm.
Was the first I knew of him. In fact, he made a thing called the Star Switch, which was a custom pickup selector switch that would drop in and replace your 5-way blade on your Stratocaster with 6
Mm-hmm.
momentary membrane
Oh.
keypads. And he had worked with aerospace, and he knew all about silicon rubber molding was his expertise. And he says, well, if I build it, they will come. So he designed it and then hired the right engineers to design the keytar thing. So Fender saw that and figured out, oh, his patent ran out. We'll make a Chinese knockoff. And that's what this was marketed. I think I've had this since 2009. It was about the time frame that these were out in the wild.
What I wanted you to demonstrate is, can you strum?
Yeah, you strum
wires
here.
Or strings?
Yeah, those are strings, they're wires, and what's happening there is that there's a pickup for each string to respond to velocity, and then these are buttons, one per each note. So it's not to you play a C chord, G, but it's because it's switches. The latency is quite acceptable. Downside, there's no whammy bar on this, but it does have some. This was done at a time when they would market it to people that were using rock band. Remember PlayStation or Rock Band and all that stuff. So they had
I still have it.
Yeah, well, they have modules that would plug into here somewhere. No, I think it would be you'd buy a specific version that works with your, remember the Wii
had a different controller.
The Nintendo Wii would work with PlayStation, the Xbox, and you had to buy a version that would work with that. But this one, besides that, it has a standard 5-pin MIDI output, so you could plug this straight into your DX7 or your synthesizer, and away you go.
Sadly, this is out of place. I just was curious because the first time I checked the concept of button fretboard and wires to strum. It was a very hard wire, almost like a rod. That one is 5-pin in and audio out. And apparently those ones you have there are very soft, very flexible.
Yeah. Now this is a similar one in the same sort of affair. This is just for velocity, no pitch. Your pitch comes from this yet another, but in this case, since the switches are embedded into the board, what looks like it's very hard to see here, but
pressure.
That's one single
on the silicon.
It's a single silicon mold, and this is the ultra rare radius fretboard that has the string spacing is here, but like a normal guitar, it gets tighter up here. That was I've had a lot of people who want, sell me your radius, I need it. And it's like, no, I'm not selling. This is kind of very expensive. It become collectible, but ironically, you can tap. There's a tap mode, and if you're just tapping, it's a real tool, very tool. Probably my fastest guitar to MIDI system.
Okay, let's bring it back to synthetic because I'm very interested to the next stuff.
This is basically the Jamstick is now making proper guitars with some of the same brain and guts of this in it. But this is the original one. It was a portable. First it was Bluetooth, and then it was Wi-Fi. This one's, I believe, is a Wi-Fi model. So it tracks better. It's much faster. But it has actual metal strings with the wiring, with the windings in it. You can hear it.
Okay.
It does have pitch, but it doesn't care because the software tweaks everything, right? But it's real strings that you actually can feel and you can strum, and it's just a shorter neck. but it's got like a little D-pad on the top and some other settings. It has a palm mute button here, so you can do palm mutes with this button, which is cool. And I put a little strap on it, and it's great with an iPad. You take this, and it's Bluetooth. You can connect to it, and basically do portable practice or drive synthesizers with it very, very well.
And also the other one,
of course, Rolly Seaboard. This is the little mini version, Seaboard block.
Yeah, but once again,
but
that comes from the keyboard standard, right? You need to understand.
It does, but it's smushy. It's smushy like a fretboard would be, right? So you can do stuff you can't do with a regular keyboard.
Well,
yes.
And you have two ribbons. You have top and bottom ribbons here, so you have more expression than a regular keyboard has.
Also, the big deal with the Rollies is they have the MPE standard, what a lot of people refer to as MIDI 2.0, where the limitation is pitch bend is a channel-wide message. So on a guitar, you must send 6 separate MIDI messages, 1 per channel, 1 per string. If you expect to play blues licks and bend strings, you have to have 6 separate MIDI messages, which means running 6 separate synthesizers essentially at your computer side, which can be a resource hog. But with the new MPE standard, which the what's the name of the thing you just showed me? The Rolly keyboard.
Rolly, it's a Rolly Seaboard,
Rolly, ROLI. Anyway, the big deal about that is that it has pressure sensitivity, but you can go side to side and get some pitch bending going.
All kinds of stuff. And you do a hammer-on pull-off equivalents and stuff. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Very crazy.
And what's really fun though is they basically were the first one to have MPE back when they actually called it multi-dimensional polyphonic expression, later shortened to MIDI polyphonic expression.
Now, do you have the one I'm expecting? Are you going to show that one?
Do I have the one? You mean the iGuitar?
No. Okay. Well, this is a little late
13
because
pin.
none of us remember. Right. That's another example of inbuilt hexaphonic magnetic pickup in it. The blue one.
Actually, the iGuitar has the RMC piezo pickup. The Brian Moore iGuitar is kind of like, okay, it's a sister to my Godin LGXA. Okay. They both feature the RMC piezo pickup poly drive preamp.
Yeah, and it tracks very, very well. Yeah,
tracks very well. Yeah.
The blue one. That's the one I want to see.
The blue one. What am I thinking of here? Did I forget already? What was it supposed to be? The blue one. Refresh my memory.
No, you didn't show it. I'm waiting for it.
I don't know if I have it handy. What is it?
Okay.
Just spoil it.
That looks like a fretboard. The one that looks like a fretboard, blue, that you were doing the demonstrations.
You know what? I left that at my girlfriend's place. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, you guys saw it before. I showed it on the first stream.
Yeah.
And I have demos on my channel of it. So it's essentially it has the Rolly. It basically has several touch pads. So they basically created this little puck thing, and then they stretched it out in a line to be more of a linear controller. So you can lay it down, play it like a lap steel, or you can tap it, play it like a drum, or you can tap and wiggle on the axis of basically perpendicular to the axis of the instrument to get modulation, filter sweep. You can wiggle it to get, a vibrato, depending on what mode you're in. There's a drum mode. There's a chord mode. So just pressing one key will give you chords at that key. And it's very, very clever. Also has accelerometer in it. So you can actually, while you're playing it, you can get actual expression by rotating it X or Y. And it has a really quick, without having to use the app, because it is standalone, but you can also program it with the app or use the app for sounds. But as a standalone, it's Bluetooth, and you can basically use it as a controller with an iPad or a computer, or you can also just use the built-in sounds and use this little combo function to flip between keys, presets, arpeggiator, on-off, all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice little standalone unit. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me here. But
don't forget that one when we do the show about alternative performance. Okay.
It's basically called the
Dewey.
I remember the name. Jouet has stuff too. Yeah, Jouet basically ripped off the Morph. But they're very similar devices. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also Array Touch. There's another one.
Who wants to take
the fancy one?
Who wants to take this one?
Yeah. So I have some stuff for that. So say you don't play a guitar, you don't want to play a guitar, or you don't want to use your guitar in this mode, and you want to experiment with stuff. So the first one on the list there is Thumb Jam. And I showed you that briefly when we had the show on earlier. And let me make sure I've killed this. This thing is going to truncate my audio. You get a little bit of a hum here, but it's not that bad. It shouldn't be that bad. So you have this. So very expressive already with just touch and multi-touch if it's not set to be a monophonic instrument. But it has a MIDI, pitch to MIDI function. And it's everything I say is going to be converted to.
Oh.
And it'll transmit vibrato too. Unfortunately, me and it at the same time. But if I plug it in real quick,
I can hear it. I don't know if the people out there can hear it right, but I can hear it.
I have an adapter I can use real quick. Give me a second here. It's taking all my stuff, converting it to crazy audio. Let me use my quick lightning adapter so you can hear it isolated. I can do something on the iPad as well with a different app. Let me just take this. And hopefully this doesn't bypass the microphone.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope. So, can you hear this now over the line?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, tracks pretty damn well, right? It's a $5 app.
Yeah.
So not only does it do all the cool expression stuff, it has a great library of sounds, and it records, it has arpeggiators, and you name it.
It's making us crazy. Mute it.
You have arpeggiator, all that kind of stuff. But the pitch to MIDI is a $5 app, and it tracks amazingly well. So
it's crazy.
So if you don't want to learn the instrument, you can basically, like a kazoo, hum into it or something, and turn it to MIDI.
We already talked about the C-board and the 5D, but you said you wrote here there's an iOS version. Oh, this one, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This.
Omnichord, yeah.
Omnichord.
Now, this would be like, it's played like an auto harp. If you can play or wrap your brain on auto harp, what happens is there's a this gold area here, over there.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. So you strum that while you hold down a chord button here, like an old chord organ. And there's a drum machine over here. These have become. It used to be these things were $200 all day. Now they're $950. Why?
Yeah, the new one is crazy.
But that's the old one that doesn't have MIDI. I have two of the ones that have MIDI: the OM200, OM300.
Yeah, well, there's the one that looks like this, has MIDI, same color. There was that band from the UK in the late '90s called Blur.
Yes.
BLUR, big hit sensation.
Yeah. Song number 2 was their big hit. Yeah.
And they're part of a lot of the members became known as gorillas in the last 10 years.
Damon Albarn, is it Damon Albarn?
Yeah, and gorillas, their big hit, the drums were straight off of an omnichord. So that's why, and that's why the omnichords became. Why to go $200 to $950? Because gorillas use that for all their hits in the studio.
Synthetics, watch your microphone. It's a little too hot.
I'm probably just yelling. Sorry.
Yeah.
Both probably. Thank you, Fail Muser. Welcome here. Welcome to the Weird Club.
I think I forgot to do the auto.
We did Jam Origin MIDI guitar. We already showed that one.
Now the auto level is not turned on. So
I would say
do a Jam Origin demo. Check this out.
There you go.
Here we go.
So let me change it so you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, get it up here so you can actually see the damn thing. So the iPad app obviously has more. You can see it's already tracking me. The iPad app has it all laid out nicely. On the phone, you have to scroll around a bit, but you have the same interface. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I have master turned down because right now I didn't want it to output. Mm-hmm. So I had mix all the way up so you don't hear my voice at all. Mm-hmm. And I have this Thunder pad, which is kind of a guitar-y, kind of grungy pad. And now check this out as I do this. Is it tracking?
No.
This might be... Let me try it this way without the dongle.
Sure. Yeah,
this has a proper headphone jack on it, so this should be this way.
Not so common lately.
Well, it's an older iPad, so let me turn this up a bit so you can hear it better. Can you hear it now? No?
Oh, it's not detecting.
I might have turned this down. Yeah, turn this down. I turned it down.
It can be applied to any source of audio.
That's well, and this one has a built-in, but it's obviously MIDI as well, right? So let's do another. There's like piano will sound weird, so let's do.
We do weird. Come on.
Double.
Don't you know where you are?
So there you go, voice-controlled synth.
So, wanna do the JDXI, or do we have enough with voice-induced synthesizers?
I mean, you get the idea, right? Now that it's MIDI, you can do whatever the hell you want with it. So
yeah, your budget is your limit. Once you go MIDI,
and JDXI is put away right now, but it came with a gooseneck mic. So obviously with the guitar, you'd have to adapt it to the XLR connector, probably check the impedance with an impedance adapter.
That is doable.
But it's all there. Yeah, it's there because the circuit is built into it to track beautifully the pitch, monophonically, of course.
Yes, exactly.
And of course you have Theremin. Theremin is USB MIDI theremin, so you can use the theremin to drive MIDI stuff and play guitar with your hands in the air. So.
Here we go. You're pulling the big guns now, Mr. Lantrick.
So, screw that. Anyway, the point is what that is a 1995 Dr. Rhythm Section drum machine, the DR5. And you might say, well, what's that all about? But the interesting thing about that is that the buttons are laid out like a guitar neck. There's 6 rows. And play it. Yeah. So if you notice, there's an array of six rows here, and
I see. Yeah.
So you could actually hold down chords or play it like a guitar, and it had internal drums, but it also has a MIDI output. It also has a microphone input, and there's a lot of rap. There's a lot of rap guys, Dr. Dre, and some people. They would use that as an essential tool to sing into that. To trigger their big racks of synthesizers as a mobile writing pad, because they could carry that in their little, aluminum briefcase and be anywhere in the back of the limo and compose. So I got mine really cheap, and then I sold it, and I got like $700 for it. And my God, how I thought I would get $50, not $700, but I sold it when the price was hot.
If you wait enough, everything gets revalued. So, guys, last.
One more thing before I forget.
Yes. Yes. Last one.
Hold on. Sorry.
Hold on. Okay.
Misplaced it.
Back. Go in. Go back. Go in.
So
go
if
back.
I can.
It's too late.
So, for those who don't have Seaboard hardware. There's the Seaboard app for iPhone and iPad, which is free.
Here we go.
And obviously, it's not the full 5D because there's no pressure on an iPad screen. At least not enough to really do the job.
I got you.
So let me plug this in, and you can just hear if you haven't heard a Seaboard played. I'll just do a quick and dirty. There's a breath flute patch, so.
No, don't dirty it. They're very expensive.
And because you have polyphonic aftertouch.
So your polyphonic limit is the amount of touch points that the iPad has, right?
Yeah, basically you can do. It's really great on the actual proper keyboard because you can hold down a chord for like an orchestral pad, and then go up to there and play like a violin-y type solo on the high end with just one or two fingers, while the chords are droning away. That's the beauty of polyphonic aftertouch, because you just add the wiggle to whatever you want and let the rest will stay alone. Now you can still put pressure on the drone chords to get like a filter sweep or a swell, or use this function called slide, where you go up the key and it morphs into another sound or a version of the sound. Glide is still your typical, so you have what they call 5D of touch. You have velocity, pressure, lift off, which is a release velocity, so your envelope will trigger like some other kind of sound, or a machine that goes ping kind of sound, ping, when it comes off. And then you have wiggle for that, and then you have slide. So you basically have those are the 5 controls.
Amazing.
And even on the iPad, it's great. You're just missing the pressure part.
Yeah. Although that one is also, as we commented, is banking on a little nuanced knowledge of keyboards, because that's the part.
Well, yeah, but you can noodle and just, because you can move your hands anywhere, you could treat it like a fretboard kind of, and and come up with happy accidents. You don't have to really know how to play it.
And do things you cannot do with a fretboard. Good.
Or with a regular keyboard.
Exactly, with a traditional keyboard. So, moving on.
And the app is free, so there you go.
What do you mean free?
Free to download.
It's free.
Yep, free on iOS, free on iPhone, iPad, whatever.
Yeah, obviously. So once again, we go back to that false economy we were commenting. It's free plus the hardware. You have to have.
Well, obviously, you're not going to have iPad software if you don't have an iPad, but it's a free app.
Exactly. So here we go. Brothers and sisters, we finished. Congratulations. Please, you, my wonderful co-host, pat yourselves on the back. We managed to do a show. Anybody in the audience, do you have any questions, any queries?
Paul had a question a while back. I think he left. But where's Paul's question here? Yeah. Where was it here? Oh, yeah. What about synths that support guitar mode? Just learn the Kiwi upgrade adds that to the MKS 50.
Sorry, come again. Can you show it on screen?
I don't have the rights. I'm not a mod. Okay. But it's what about? It's way back. So just read it again. What about synths that support guitar mode? Just learn the Kiwi upgrade adds that to the MKS 50.
Well, an MKS 50.
Alpha Juno, basically. Yeah.
MKS 50 shares the same sound set as the JX3P, which was the original root of the Roland GR700
there you go.
synthesizer, which was Roland's first MIDI guitar system. Although it had.
Is there a button that says guitar mode, or how do you know it's guitar mode?
No. I think what he's talking about, MKS 50. I'm not sure what he's talking about, frankly. There's been Kiwi upgrades, which sounds like a third-party guy that reverse engineering. Take out the Roland ROM and put in this new 24-pin ROM, and now you have new features. And that there's a movement in the JX3P world that does that. So I would need more details to reliably answer his question about what he means with MKS 50 and guitar.
Can you tell me the time of the question?
I can't see that either because, again, without the admin, with the mod status, I can't see that. It's toward the beginning.
He says guitar mode is 6-part multi-timbral. MKS50 is an alpha. Okay, MKS50 is an Alpha Juno rack.
Yeah, Alpha Juno.
Okay.
Thank you, Wagyu. Cool. Well, it's kind of
it's outside my wheelhouse. You probably have to
because as far as I know, my Alpha Juno doesn't have that. Maybe there's something on the 50 that's special. I don't know, but
I think the big deal is that there's a thing called a DRO9. I think it is. It's anyway, it has a guitar mode, and it was interesting because it's the first thing in the last 5-6 years that Roland released that has MIDI guitar mode with 1 channel per string to directly accept it. So, it might be the DR05. No, it's one of those new rack units that it's a hardware unit. Let me think back.
Rack is not new.
No, well, Goose said basically that's what the Kiwi upgrade does. It adds a multi-timbrality to it. So.
Okay. But you can do the same thing with all the heavyweight multi-timbrels like the JVs. That's what I did a comment before. I have the whole lineup of JVs.
But in many ways, even today, people still use the JV 1010 because it still has those, which a lot of brand new synths don't. So
there's an old demo when Rolly Seaboard first came out. There's a German guy does a demo with a Matrix 1000 rack, and he's basically using the MPE of the Rolly Seaboard to activate individual multi-timbral patches on the thing and blending them together. So he's using the same patch basically many times over to get the MPE equivalent on the Matrix 1000, even though it didn't exist back then, right?
So I'm guessing that's what they're trying to describe when they say guitar mode, as in, yes, it's multi-timbral, but it's designed to do the same patch on all the channels and control them like one.
Yeah,
right.
Because that's how you.
Because that's what they are, the individual patches. Yeah.
But because they're individual monophonics, even if they're monophonics, it's like having polyphonic aftertouch because each string performs differently than the next.
But
is that right?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a hack to make it work on the older gear because it's not really MPE, but it's using that same principle.
Yeah. Right. Well, the way we used to do that in the old days, we'd get a Roland Sound Canvas SC70, which those had the general MIDI, 16 instruments at once. And you always banked on the fact that MIDI channel 10 was the drums. And that didn't matter if you had a Casio, a Yamaha, Roland, all those keyboards and organs built around the early 90s all had the general MIDI or the Yamaha version called XG. And it would be like the MU80s and those kind of little half-rack models.
Roland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that they would even have those modes in
this little guy does the XG, the QY100.
Yeah, bingo. The XG, the QY, yeah. And bingo, yeah, exactly. All those guys, those are great. And some of those make great guitar MIDI tone modules because they have a mode where you can assign 6 separate MIDI channels at once, sharing the same sound. And that's a rare thing today. And that's the first thing when I look at someone that gets exciting and says, "Oh, look, Behringer knocked off this amazing synthesizer." I look and it says, "Oh, it's only 4 voice." It's like, what the hell? Why not make it 6 voice?
I miss multi-timbral stuff. So much stuff is not these days. So
we need to.
With the MPE, the brand new standard, they instantly assume MIDI channel 1 is strictly for control information. So they'll start MIDI channels 2 through 7. And you say 2 through 7, those will be my guitar mode channels for a triple play or something that can output what diving deep into the woods, we call that MIDI mono mode 4. And if you look in the original MIDI spec, MIDI Omni, Poly, what is it? What's MIDI mono mode? Well, that implies one voice per channel. But mode 4 would then allow, okay, we have pitch bend just on that one MIDI channel. But, the early MIDI controllers, like the first Roland GM70, which was another half, rack unit full thing, which was 1984 is when that came out, 85. That makes no sounds. You'd have to hook it up to your JX 6 or Juno 6 that also would support these mono modes, or the old JV 1010 and those sort of things. So that was a beautiful thing about this thing that I'm holding over here, which is the GR55. No, GR50.
50.
GR50. That's that one right there has a 13-pin input, has a headphone input, and then it takes the memory cards, which were the same as used on a similar era Roland JV synth. And you can even put in certain, I think this accepts, some of these accept soundboards, bingo, the memory cards,
Same as the D50 and all that,
Well, in fact, there was, talking about Juno, there was a Juno, I'm trying to think of it, Juno G. And, they were the first with a fluorescent display, and most people, it died, and I can't get any money for my Juno G. But the attractive thing about a Juno G, it was a poor man's Phantom. And so if you look at a Phantom and then the Juno G, you'd see, dive in the woods you see, oh my God, they have the same sound set, and they even take the same SRX upgrade voice cards.
That's cool.
But they were perfect for a guitar synthesizer guy. If you had room in your home studio, put a Juno G in the corner that you get on eBay for $300, and now you have an excellent MIDI guitar sound module, because it accepts all the MIDI mono mode 4, so you could do independent string bending and play all your country riffs and whammy bar and 6 separate pitch bends going on at once.
Never knew that.
Yeah.
Cool. So guys, obviously none of you are checking the time. We've gone way over.
That's okay.
Yeah,
it's been wonderful.
We got through all the topics at least, so.
Yeah.
And we did it in the appropriate order. So thank you so much. And shall we wrap it up? Are we happy with this?
Sure.
Yeah,
I
think so, yeah.
I put a link in the private chat if you want to do a play out of something, just a short.
Please, yes.
It's not a guitar thing. It's a physical modeling thing. It's a zither, basically, that's being strummed and chorded and
backfires.
Just play it right at that thing, because I save the timestamp so you don't hear all the crap in the beginning.
Okay, because it's been rolling for a second, so I put it back to 117. And let me share that once again.
It's a Chinese pentatonic D.
So, exactly. Let me remind you about we'll put all the links applicable to this show in the description after the fact, so over the weekend. Long weekend for us UK members, because Monday is a bank holiday.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo for Mexico.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
In Spain would be the 1st of May, which is the Workers' Day.
Yes.
And the Worksman Revolution.
And it's Golden Week in Japan right now. So.
I think it was Stalin's birthday 2 years ago, which was May Day and all that stuff,
So, we'll put the link to Discord, so feel free to join Discord, leave us a line. We'll be as quick as possible to reply to you. And if you have any questions about anything that we treated here, you can either wait for the dedicated episode that we did in a future date, or just put it there and we'll try to reply as efficiently and deeply as we manage. Also, please let me remind it, and I'm going to try to make another channel in Discord to accept. Please send us any of the music you would like to promote or would like to share, featuring either a synth-tar, as a guitar playing synthesizer sounds, or a synthesizer, i.e. keyboard, or any other type of alternative triggers, featuring guitar sounds within any type of a style of composition, and we'll play it fully at the end of the show. Having said so, all that is left to say is thank you very much for everybody watching. Thank you for coming. Please come back next month, which I'm pulling the calendar very, very quickly. So it's going to be... Oh, I just got Windows 11. This is scheisse.
Of course it is.
Nothing is there, and it's nothing but a faceplate on top of Windows 10.
Yep.
I don't know where. What's the date for the next show? Can anybody tell me, please? The one for June?
Actually, that one, I might have to join that one remotely because I'll be out of town. So,
no problem.
But I'll try it though. I'll be in Monroeville Mall.
June 7th. June 7th is
June 7th, Friday, June 7th, 11 p.m. UK time. What time is over there, guys?
Right now it's
3 p.m. 3 p.m. is 11. So.
And 6 p.m. California time. Right now, well, it'll be.
Oh, now it's
PM.
yeah.
Yeah, but 3 p.m.
We started at
start time is 3 p.m. Yeah.
3 p.m. West Coast, and what is in the East Coast? What is like
3 hours ahead?
Noon.
So,
noon.
6 p.m. East Coast, 3 p.m. West Coast,
right?
Yeah.
11 p.m. UK time.
Going the wrong way.
So thank you very much, and let me play you out with Synth-Addicts.
Get your axes out. Have some fun.
Rock and roll. Rock on, baby. Bring it on. So now it's when I didn't prepare this. Da, 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 da. Share screen. Click. 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 I'm getting better at this. Here we go.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I gotta go.
Bye, night.